I got a vehicle on fire in a bad place for folks trying to get home. It is blocking the center lane, 24 eastbound, right there at Murfreesboro Pike. That's just going to be south of the eastern split there. Also in Smyrna, TDOT reporting a crash, 24 eastbound at Almaville Road. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hello, kids. Matt Murphy here. It is the Matt Murphy Radio Show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I'm pleased you've decided to join us. Whatever time you're able to give us, we're certainly appreciative of that. We have 4 full hours today, starting right now and going through until Mark Levin at 7:05 or so this evening. Lots to get into, not the least of which is Congressman John Rose stopping by studio at about an hour from now, about 4:05, 4:06. Congressman Rose at the Wilson County Fairgrounds just a few hours ago made the announcement official that he is in fact running for governor of the state of Tennessee. He is the first to name in what is expected to be a robust battle until November of next year. John Rose is expected to be joined by a number of other names, not the least of which is Senator Marsha Blackburn. We will talk with John about his decision to cast his hat in the ring, as they say, as potentially the next governor of the state of Tennessee. We'll do that at 4:05 this afternoon. By the way, I should note you should get questions in, comments in, any thoughts, any comments, any questions at the super text line. We'll try, if I'm able, to pick a caller or two if you so desire. But your questions at this stage are far more important than mine as to how John would govern as governor of the state of Tennessee. And you can get those in at the super text line, 615-737-9986, 615-737-9986. Once again, that's in about an hour, about 4:05. John heading over from Wilson County, as I said, made the announcement at the Wilson County Fairgrounds earlier today. Talked about health care, talked about a few other things, and we will discuss all of those items with him later on today in studio. In the meantime, there's lots to get into. As you might expect, every day is just a plethora of information and things to chew on from Washington, D.C. and beyond. We will discuss the latest on the war between Ukraine and Russia. Donald Trump doing his dead-level best to attempt to gain a peace. And, sadly, it doesn't seem like anybody involved in any of this wants to have peace, including Vladimir Putin, obviously, who started the whole thing, at least the most recent version of what's happening. We can go back to 2014 in Crimea, and we can go back a long ways, but ultimately the fighting that's happening right now was obviously started by Russia as the invasion occurred under Joe Biden's watch. But Volodymyr Zelensky doesn't seem to want peace very much in this either. And some of his comments made over the last 24 hours are indicative of that. Either that or he's just living in a fantasy land, thinking that he can achieve a peace without achieving a victory that gives him everything he wants and gives the other warring faction nothing of what they want. That's not the way negotiations or diplomacy works. Maybe he's just blustering on the international stage, or maybe he just doesn't know. In the meantime, at any moment now, Donald Trump is set to sign an executive order that would begin the process of dismantling the Federal Department of Education. Promises made, promises kept by the Trump then campaign, now presidency. As he made a promise that he would do so, he is now doing so. And I would challenge any of you that are all caught up in this. Maybe you're very emotional about it. Perhaps you're sitting there listening to this loudmouth on the radio thinking, oh, Matt, this is going to destroy the educational opportunities of the people of the state of Tennessee. It's so awful. Donald Trump wants our children to be illiterate. What does the Federal Department of Education do to educate your children? That's my question for you. If you can tell me, I'm listening. Just tell me. What do they do? that doesn't involve borrowing money against your great-grandchildren's future and handing it to the states with strings attached. Because that's all they do, in my opinion. What's yours? 615-737-9986. Tesla attacks, we will discuss that. If you want to know why Democrats are lost in the wilderness, I think the Tesla attacks are a great example of why that is, because they do not have any core convictions, and they will change at a moment's notice as to what they believe in, and the rules of the game change for them depending on which side of the fence they might be on. We'll talk about that today as well. Let me introduce players of the show, players that I can't see very well. It's very dark in there, very light in here, so all I see is myself. But I think Chris Webber's back there somewhere. He is busily making sure that everything that comes out of our speaker sounds as good as humanly possible. Hello, Mr. Webber. No? Hello? Hello? Hello?
One out of program.
I suggest sabotage.
Yep.
Sabotage.
And then there's Ken Weaver. He's back in News Closet B. What's up, Mr. Weaver?
Nothing much. Just waiting for President Trump's signing here because I'm sure he's going to be answering a flurry of questions. Mm-hmm. He will be making news left and right.
Mm-hmm. We're going to, and just a fair warning for you, Mr. Weber, we're going to try to jip some of that live as it happens, when it happens, if time allows. Jip it. Join in progress. JIP, JIP. We're going to do it on the Matt Murphy Show. It's happening soon, and I know that because CNN tells me that. Hashtag never CNN. I love when they put the little box up. Soon. It's happening soon. We don't know when, but it's happening soon. We're on top of it. And we'll be on top of it for you as well on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. You, Ken Weaver, you watching any of that basketball out of the corner of your eye?
I'm keeping an eye on the scores there, Brother Murphy. Yes, sir.
Hey, is Clemson still losing?
Let's see here.
It's going to screw my. I worked really hard on my bracket.
Yeah, Clemson is losing by 16 points.
Holy shnikes.
With 35 seconds to go in the first half, it is McNeese State now 31 to Clemson's 13. So they're losing by 18 points.
Oh, okay. But relatively early.
Yeah.
Relatively.
32 seconds in the first half.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I mean, plenty of time for Clemson to come back, but that would screw my bracket up. That I worked real hard on my bracket, Ken.
You did. You worked real hard on it, Brother Murphy. I understand it took about 4 minutes.
Oh boy, 4 minutes.
Well, they had to sharpen the pencil, so
yeah, 4 minutes. It took. Well, if you include having to log on to my computer and get to a bracket because I didn't want to have to print one out and actually write it down. So I logged on. Yeah, if you include logging on, getting to the bracket thing, and then I went boop, 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 boop. And then I printed it, and here it is. The losing bracket. I don't think I've won a game yet. I picked Louisville over Crichton. That was a loser. This was my big upset of the day, guys.
Yeah.
My big upset was that High Point was going to take down Purdue. The 13 seed was going to take down the Purdue Boilermakers.
How'd that work out?
It did not work out, Chris Webber. It did not work out at all. It worked out exactly as much study. I mean, just compare the amount of study that I put into that game, and you could probably figure out how it worked out. So, you know what? Maybe I could go – I am told that it is equally as difficult to go over as it is to have a perfect bracket.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It would make sense, right?
Uh-huh.
And have y'all ever seen the statistics on the ability for someone to go through all of the games with a perfect bracket? It's like a gajillion to 1 or something ridiculous like that.
Worse than the lottery odds, I think, right?
Right. Yeah. And actually, and I did see this, and this happened on hashtag Never CNN's website. So for once, they did something that was of interest to me. The Louisville game alone, like based on the ESPN brackets, Louisville losing to Crichton eliminated 65% of the brackets from perfection.
Yeah,
that's how quickly it happens. Right?
See, you cannot bet against Creighton because I'm telling you, those boys, they are in the tournament every year. Well, every year.
I'll say this. I was doing some study at home before I left for the office, and I was watching that game out of the corner of my eye. and they were just pounding threes. I don't know much about basketball, but I know this: if you got like 5 different guys that are 7 foot tall that can hit 3-pointers, you're probably
you're good.
Gonna be pretty good. So, we'll watch that out of the corner of our eye, and we'll let you know if there's anything of note that you.
By the way, Brother Murphy, I was telling Brother Chris, your dogs have to play the dogs.
I know we do, and one and done, baby. Gonzaga and Georgia, right?
Yeah,
that's right.
But I don't think they call themselves the dogs.
Most people call them the Zags, right?
Yeah, I think they call them the Zags.
But they're the Bulldogs. I think their mascot's the Bulldogs.
Yeah, but they don't use the term dog.
Well, they're not the dogs.
They're probably the dogs. The Bulldogs.
Yeah, we're the dogs. Go to the harbor.
Those fierce Bulldogs.
We're the Bulldogs. Go to the harbor.
Where is that?
Have some chowder. I don't know.
It's up in Washington State.
Oh, well, you were on the wrong end of the country there.
Washington State?
Yeah, they're in Northwest.
It's your fault.
Well,
you said it. I just put them.
Well, they recruit the East Coast.
Yeah, heavily. Yeah.
You know what? I was today old when I realized that I've heard about Gonzaga all my life.
Yeah.
In basketball mostly, but I was today old when I realized they were in Washington State.
Same.
Who knew?
No idea.
I've got Georgia winning that game. That was a little homer pick for me. I got Georgia winning that game and losing to Houston. So
yes, sir.
Let's see what happens.
You'll get another one wrong, probably.
Probably.
Just continue that streak.
By the way, where's your Georgia gear there, Weber?
It's just football season, man. I don't wear it during basketball season.
We don't play basketball. That's what I tell people all the time.
I used to not pay attention to other sports until last football season.
When them Sooners going to whoop up on UConn?
Oh, that's tomorrow, but I don't know. I don't know if we're going to be doing any whooping up on.
Mm-hmm. Well,
UConn.
Y'all are a 9 seed. They're an 8 seed.
Yeah, but that means we're probably very similar. Mm-hmm. Although they probably have taller guys, and I don't know. We'll see.
They make them different up there in Stores. Stores, Connecticut. They make them a little bit different up there. Anyway, we're monitoring. That's fun. I mean, that's a good time. It makes me. I fill out a bracket for one reason. I said this to Chad earlier. I fill out a bracket for one reason, and that is to create interest. Mm-hmm. Because otherwise, I will have no interest. And I discovered that one year when I didn't fill out a bracket and I tried to watch and could not do it. It's like, who gives a crap? But for some reason, I mean, this is how competitive I am. Literally spent about 2 minutes on this. But now, let's see. What game? The Georgia, the Clemson McNeese.
Yeah, Clemson McNeese
I'm
State.
a huge Tiger right now because I've got Clemson going to the Elite Eight.
Another one you're going to get wrong, looks like.
What's going on here? Why are so many teams with the same names playing each other?
Oh, is McNeese State the Tigers too?
I think they are. Let's see here.
Well, the Tigers and the Bulldogs are probably the most popular mascot names.
I'm sorry. They're the Cowboys.
Oh, are they?
Yeah.
What the hell? And by the way, what the hell's a Sooner?
They were not very honest people.
That's right. They jumped
the gun on the land rush.
They jumped the land rush.
Yeah. That's my land.
Better than the Laters, I guess.
I guess. Well,
that's before they had football.
Well, the Laters have their integrity, but they ain't got no land.
No, they don't. And you know what that guy said in "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou"? You ain't no man if you ain't got land.
That's the truth. Boy, oh boy. All right, so we're waiting on Donald Trump to sign the executive order, something that I thought he had already done, but apparently no. We'll also talk about the Tesla protest. And, man, oh, man, liberals are funny people, aren't they? They just don't have any core convictions, and they're willing to change on a whim. And it's just fascinating to me how they can live with themselves. But, oh, well. Maybe if you're a liberal and you want to call us and let us know how that works, by all means, 615-737-9986. Just getting underway. It's 21 after the hour on The Murphy Show. Hello, friends. Dr. Poss and Dr. Brian McLaughlin have the Sleep Apnea and TMJ Solution Center, and they have your sleep apnea solution for you right now. Here's the deal, folks. I could never have worn a CPAP machine, and I know that. My brother did it for a long time, and I watched it happen, and my goodness, he had some pretty severe sleep apnea. Well, I discovered that I had mild sleep apnea through Dr. Stephen Paas, and he said, Murph, there is a solution for you that doesn't involve a hose or a mask. It involves an FDA-approved oral appliance that fits into your mouth. It is custom-made for your mouth and only your mouth. It gently supports your jaw. It helps you be able to breathe better. You snore less. For those of you who do, I was not that much of a snorer, which is why I didn't think I had sleep apnea, but I was disabused of that notion. Thank you to Dr. Paas. If you're not sleeping well, if you're low energy, you need to get with Dr. Paas and Dr. McLaughlin. Offices in Brentwood and Murfreesboro, and they are in network for most insurance companies in the state of Tennessee. Give them a call by dialing them up on the internet at drpaas.com. drposs.com. That's drpaas.com.
That noon deadline a federal judge has set over the deportation flights fight, well, it passed. We'll tell you about that and more coming up at 3:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. 26 after the hour. Matt Murphy Show in progress. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Donald Trump is speaking before the American people right now. I think we should join some of this in progress. Let's listen to the 47th President of the United States.
Right. And the Democrats know it's right, and I hope they're going to be voting for it because ultimately it may come before them. But everybody knows it's right, and we have to get our children educated. We're not doing well with the world of education in this country, and we haven't for a long time. And we're pleased to be joined today by the woman who I chose because she's an extraordinary person, and hopefully she will be our last Secretary of Education, Linda McMahon. Linda, thank you. Thank you very much. That's another interesting statement. It's an interesting opening, right? But it's true, and it's been amazing how popular this has been. I tell people that this is what I'm doing today, and they say, oh, it's about time. Everybody says it. Republicans and Democrats have said it. They're all saying it. Also with us are some terrific people. Governors Greg Abbott. Greg, thank you very much. Governor Ron DeSantis, thank you very much, Ron. Mike Braun, congratulations on your victory, Mike. That was a big one. Mike DeWine, thank you very much, Mike. Jeff Landry. Jeff, thank you very much, Jeff. Bill Lee, thank you. Governors,
hey,
all
Governor Bill
governors.
Lee's up
Brad
there.
Little.
How about that?
Brad, thank you very much. Where are you, Brad? Hi, Brad. Jim Pilan, thank you very much, Jim. And Kim Reynolds. These are all people very interested in education. And I even see Dan Patrick over there, my friend Dan Patrick. We're joined also by Representatives Tim Walberg and Virginia Fox, Rick Allen, Michael Rulli. And again, Dan Patrick, thank you very much, Dan. You've been a great friend of ours. And State Attorneys General Ken Paxton. Ken, I see you there. Andrew Bailey. Andrew, what a job you've done, Andrew. You have some good cases going. You've done a great job. Thank you very much. And co-founder of Moms for Liberty, Tiffany Justice. She's been a hard worker. Thank you. Thank you, Tiffany. When President Carter created the Federal Education Department in 1979, it was opposed by members of his own cabinet, as well as the American Federation of Teachers, the New York Times editorial board, and the famed Democrat Senator Daniel Patrick Moynihan. History has proven them right, absolutely right. After 45 years, the United States spends more money on education by far than any other country, and spends likewise by far more money per pupil than any country, and it's not even close. But yet we rank near the bottom of the list in terms of success. It's an amazing stat. Those are two stats you don't want. The most money spent per pupil, and you're at the bottom of the list. And that's where we are, like it or not. And we've been there for a long time. 70% of eighth graders are not proficient in either reading or in math. 70%. 40% of fourth graders
All right,
lack
as the
even
president
basic
speaks
reading.
on this matter, and I hate to interrupt the president, we have Ken Weaver back in the newsroom. We're going to put some headlines together for you. We'll continue monitoring his speech. And Trump's addresses are always compelling. What's more compelling is when he begins taking questions. So hopefully we'll be able to do that coming up on the other side of things. It's the Matt Murphy Show. You're listening to Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. And moments ago in our nation's capital.
In a few moments, I will sign an executive order to begin eliminating the Federal Department of Education once and for all.
President Trump making good on his campaign promises. By the way, Governor Bill Lee, Secretary of State Trey Hargett are there. Congressman John Rose isn't. He's been busy here in Middle Tennessee today.
Today, I ask for your vote for Governor of Tennessee. Thank you.
And one of his pledges is to ensure every Tennessean is within half an hour's drive of health care round trip. By the way, Congressman Rose will join Matt Murphy on our show coming up at 4:05 today. He's going to be in studio. Everyone's assembled, like I said, for President Trump's signing of an executive order, and we might try to join that press conference live once we get out of the newscast and past traffic and weather. Right now in Nashville, the Tennessean says tech giant Oracle has closed on $60 million worth of land on the East Bank. It's right next to land it has already purchased for its global headquarters, where it says it will employ 8,500 workers. Construction hasn't started yet. The East Bank is where the Titans' new stadium is being built, which could someday host a Super Bowl, maybe in 2029. The Tennessean says Governor Lee has submitted an official letter of interest to NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell to host the 2029 Super Bowl. Nashville city leaders submitted a similar letter earlier this month. And the Taliban has released an American they seized 2 years ago who is on a trip across Afghanistan. This is George Glesman. He's an airline mechanic from Atlanta in his mid-60s, was traveling through Afghanistan as a tourist at the time of his abduction. He's the third American detainee to be released by the Taliban since January. That group trying to get in the United States' good graces at a time when most countries do not recognize it as Afghanistan's ruler. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. All right, we've got a vehicle fire, and it has the right lane blocked, 24 eastbound at Murfreesboro Pike. Then in the Rivergate area, a crash. Police on the scene, 65 northbound before Vietnam Veterans Boulevard. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hello, friends. Matt Murphy for Tennessee Men's Clinic. Gentlemen, I don't wish it on you, but for half the men in the listening audience, you're going to have some level of T loss over the course of your life, particularly in your 40s, into your 50s, into your 60s. And when that happens, it can manifest itself in a number of different ways. Perhaps you're going to lose, the desire to go to the gym. Perhaps you lose, the desire to work outside in the yard. You just don't have the energy that you once had. And for some men, it manifests itself in more intimate activities, bedroom activities with your significant other. If any of these things are happening to you, if you're experiencing the front end of this, let's nip it in the bud by getting to the Tennessee Men's Clinic, because they can help. They have a variety of different programs available for you depending on, you. That's where their qualified urologists come in. They can give you a detailed analysis, get a little blood work done, see where your levels are, and then go from there. Tennessee Men's Clinic has 2 locations, one in Franklin, the other in Midtown. Let's give them a call and schedule that appointment today. You can find out more at TennesseeMen'sClinic.com, TennesseeMen'sClinic.com, or call them at 615-208-9090, 208-9090. Oh, my sincerest apologies. Chris Webber and I were engaged in a bit of interior design. I like it.
It's a work in progress.
I think it's going to be great. 615-737-9986 if you'd like to be a part of the show. You can also text in any and all questions that you might have for Congressman John Rose, who announced today that he's running for governor. I just was alerted that Congressman Rose, he said he wants health care within 30 minutes, I guess, round trip of anyone in the state of Tennessee.
Yes, sir.
Is it less than 30 minutes from the Wilson County Fairgrounds to here? I don't think that's. I don't think that's right.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
Be close.
So they're thinking that he's maybe running about 15 minutes behind, but he'll be here. And I told him we had plenty of time for him when he gets here. So that's all well and good. Donald Trump is currently signing an executive order to dismantle the federal Department of Education, a federal Department of Education that did not come into existence until the late 1970s, designed to improve education in the states. The 50 collected states. Has it done so? I would suggest no, it has not. And therefore, I would suggest to you that Donald Trump is doing the right thing. The Federal Department of Education is a money suck, and it gives the federal government far too much say in how we manage our educational opportunities here in the state of Tennessee. And I would suggest to you humbly that, it's time to go. For 0272. I want to make clear on something on this because 0272, God bless you, and I don't begrudge you your opinion on these types of matters. You say, John Rose is wasting his time. No chance against Martha. Well, should we just anoint her then? Or perhaps we should... I'm sorry. I thought the same thing when you thought it.
What you got back there, Ken?
Are you sharing, Ken? Are you going to share with us or what?
Sorry about that, boys.
Well, we want to know what it is.
Apples.
Oh, well, then never mind about the sharing.
Yeah,
No.
I'll pass.
Yeah, it was Cheetos now. That's shareable over there.
No, those make my thighs fat. What kind of apples?
Granny Smith's or what you got, a Fuji? Yeah, a Honey Crisp?
You're going to make him choke.
I think they're Fuji's.
Oh, do you? I like the Honey Crisp. Although those are hybrids, which means that they're genetically modified, and Chris Hand wouldn't be a fan. But I like them.
Man, if it tastes good.
I mean, that's great to me. And you barely, it's so disappointing. One of the biggest disappointments in life, and I guess I have a pretty good life if this is up there on the list, is biting into an apple and getting a mushy. Oh,
that's bad.
It's just, I just immediately throw away.
Yeah.
You ever find a spider in one?
Ooh.
No.
Had a buddy bit into one, had a jumping spider in it.
Good
In
grief.
Yeah. He didn't see the hole on the back of it.
No. Yeah. You know what they say, Ken? You know what's worse than finding a worm in your apple?
A spider?
Well, half a worm in your apple.
Oh. I'm sorry about that, boys.
Oh, no, you're fine. You're fine. So Donald Trump has signed the order dismantling the Department of Education. This happening moments ago, and we're following it. Thomas has a thought on all of this. Hey, Thomas, what's up?
Hey, Brother Murphy. Just got to say, as a teacher, an ex-teacher for 13 years, I am really excited about the prospect that this brings to local communities in order to control what's being taught at schools. From my experience, the school that I worked at was nothing but an indoctrination center, and that's one of the reasons why I don't work for schools anymore. So I'm super excited. I'm really glad this power is coming back to the states. Hopefully, there's no more hang-ups along the way. And I look forward to seeing how it helps my kids and all the other kids in Tennessee.
Well, and I don't know, and thank you, Thomas, for the call. I don't know how much impact you're going to see regarding education in the state of Tennessee in terms of curriculum change. But I will say this, that in terms of educational standards and what the Department of Education endeavored to do, what they did instead of rising the level of educational opportunity around the United States of America, what they did is thrust a bunch of mandates on the states that were either not good fits for the communities in which they were mandating them, or they simply were unattainable, or they were already being done in a different sort of way. These mandates were done in the spirit of We need to uniform educational opportunities around the United States of America. When I was in college, for example, in the 1990s, we were told that, well, you've got to have a similar educational opportunity in Texas as you do in Connecticut, as you do in Georgia, as you do in Tennessee, as you do in Idaho, because of the mobility of families amongst those various states. Well, that's just a lot of pablum. That's just a lot of hooey. What this was designed to do, or whatever it was designed to do, I won't talk about the design because I wasn't around back then. But whatever it was designed to do, what it did in reality was it gave far too much power to the federal government to dictate to local communities and by extension the states and by extension local communities how they should teach and how they should educate their young people, what curriculum, what standards they should utilize. And that's simply a duty left up to the states. And there's nothing wrong with leaving those duties up to the individual states. Dustin is next in Chapel Hill. Dustin, thank you for your call. I hope you're well.
Hey, Murphy, thanks. A first-time caller. As a recovering liberal, I've wanted to call in numerous times.
Well, I'm glad you called today. What's on your mind?
Well, you had made a comment just a little while back about how the liberals really don't have anything that they stand for. They're wishy-washy. If any liberals want to call in, and I think, I'm close enough removed that I understand the train of thought of how the only train of thought that they have is Donald Trump bad. And I fell into that for so long. It just depending, if you fall into their mainstream media and that's all you watch, of course you're going to think this guy's terrible. But then they don't like Stephen A. Smith that they commented earlier. They're not telling us anything proactive to be for.
Well, I'll give you an example of it. Chuck Schumer is a great example. Chuck Schumer said the quiet part out loud the other day on The View when he said, what we need to do a better job of is tearing this guy down and destroying his popularity, talking about Donald Trump. And he was asked the question about what you can do to make Democrats more popular. What can you do to improve the status of the opinions about Democrats across the country? They're right now, I think, at 29% approval nationwide. And his answer was, we need to do a better job of tearing Donald Trump down. That's not an answer about your I mean, you know what I mean? I mean, that's just a delusion. Trump derangement syndrome is real. It's real.
Well, I'll tell you, the thing is, my age, I kind of got into following politics after 9/11 and Obama coming in. It was going to be this great change. It was really easy to be a Democrat at that time. It just felt like this was if you're not a Democrat right now, you're kind of a jerk. But all of a sudden, you start to see it, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. And if the Democrats were actually doing what they say they're doing, I'd probably still be on board. But they're not. They're just not. It's empty promises to buy votes. I don't know. I have no faith in them anymore. And I didn't necessarily just jump ship. Now I'm just a staunch Republican. I really look at every issue individually and make a decision based on that. But I had to get off that ship. Even if I'm just in a life raft right now, I had to get off that ship because it felt like Looney Town.
How long would you have – because the last Democrat I voted for was Bill Clinton in 1992. I didn't vote in 96 because I know I didn't vote for Bob Dole. I'm certain of it. And I guess by 2000, I had made my way over to I don't classify myself as a Republican anyway. I'm a libertarian with a small L. But how long would you say that you were you would self-describe yourself as a liberal, Dustin?
Well, I voted. The first time I voted was for Bush. And, being from Tennessee, Gore just, I don't know. My dad was a Republican. I just fell in line. And I voted for Bush, and then it was 9/11. From 9/11 until about a year ago, I would say I was diehard. I moved to Portland, Oregon, thinking I was just going to be in the happiest I've ever been. I'm going to be around my people. This is great. And although Portland, Oregon is a beautiful city, it is a trash bowl because of the way they run it. If they ran Portland, Oregon the way they ran Nashville, it would be the greatest place in the country. I mean, geographically, it's awesome. It's beautiful. But it's Looney Town. My car got broken into every month. I stopped locking my doors because I knew I was just going to come out to a busted windshield. And it's just because they're too lenient. They just all this leniency on everything. It's got to be repercussions.
How long were you in Portland?
About 2 years.
You know, I'd like to officially, Dustin, if I may, and you tell me if I'm out of bounds here, I would like to officially thank Portland, Oregon for squeezing all the liberal out of Dustin and so showing him the way of the way. No, I mean, yeah, there's nothing better than to demonstrate to you that it's all, for the most part, liberals, they talk a really good game in academic settings. They talk a really good game in the classroom or in the conference room. It's when the rubber meets the road that their performative nature really gets exposed. And I would think that Portland, Oregon would have in real time exposed the tragedy of liberalism to you.
Well, you know what? The biggest problem I think that they have is they think they're trying to save the world, and they just they run out there and think that they're going to solve every single problem all at once, and then they get absolutely nothing done. And this inclusion thing, you know, I mean, it's just gotten way out of hand. I still have a lot of my close friends are liberals, and I have homosexual friends and stuff, and they all honestly say the same thing. Like, they haven't quite, you know, come as far as I have, but they say this is crazy. But this is just, it's not what they signed up for, and that's why you're seeing all the middle going one way. That's why you're seeing the numbers that we're seeing supporting Trump is because they just went too darn far. It's crazy.
Well, what they've done over the last decade, I would say, Dustin. I mean, when I first started in this business, I mean, the political left, very much like you described, they were, you know, kind of a save the world, a very idealistic approach. That if you assume that everyone is in their heart of hearts good people, then you can approach the world that way, and we can help everybody and lift them up. And if you just give them a hand up, they're going to take it from there. And all of those things sound really good. At some point along the way, about 10 or so years ago, they diverted into identity-based politics. And I don't know if you know that phrase or not, but it is identifying groups of individuals that you can depend upon to vote in your corner with regularity, so long as you give them protected status. And this started with the African-American community. They parlayed the civil rights era into block voting from the African-American community, and they thought they had seized on that, but they wanted to grow that block, and they did so with the Hispanic communities. They tried it with the homosexual community, and now, they just continue to extend themselves beyond all of those groups into the LGBTQ space, and it's just when you delve into identity politics, it naturally pits groups of people against one another, and you have to have an oppressor and the oppressed. And it was easy to call the white man the oppressor, the Christian white male the oppressor. And I just think people have gotten wise to it, much like you, Dustin. They recognize that all this advances is power and control in those communities in which they have power and control. It does not advance a footprint or a basic bedrock to build a life upon for the American people.
Well, you know, I couldn't agree more. I appreciate that explanation. That does kind of shed some light on that for me. You know, like you said, you know, like in the hearts of hearts, if everybody, you know, let's approach it this way, you know, and if you give somebody a hand up, they're going to do better. But like the two things, and I'll leave you after this, the two things my dad installed in me is I'll give anybody a hand up, but I'm not going to give them a hand out.
That's right. That's exactly right.
And somebody else is much wiser than me told me, you know, if you're not a Democrat in your 20s, you might be a jerk, but if you're still a Democrat in your 40s, you might be a moron.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, the old saying is, and, you know, people give credit to Winston Churchill for this saying. I don't know if it was Churchill or not. You know, everybody, Abraham Lincoln, Mark Twain, Winston Churchill, William Shakespeare, the Bible, those are the five that get all the credit for all the sayings that have ever been said. But it is said that Winston Churchill said that if you are under 30 and conservative, you do not have a heart. If you are over 30 and liberal, you do not have a brain. Pretty good quote. Have you seen the Georgia score, by the way?
No, I have not.
21-3. I'm perfect so far. 53 after the hour in Super Talk. Friends, my man Tony at Cabinet Solutions wants to talk with you about all of your cabinet needs. Here's the deal, folks. I've been to Cabinet Solutions in Hendersonville. I have walked the incredible showroom, almost 5,000 square feet, to explore a wide range of kitchen cabinets, of cabinets for the bathroom, of cabinets for the dressing area or your walk-in closet. They've got it all, from semi-custom to high-end custom cabinetry. Let their experienced team guide you. Estimates are absolutely free, and your dreams can actually be turned into 3D reality on the big screen. They just had their open house, but they're ready to accommodate you. They want to see you. And don't forget, you get 15% off. This is a real deal. And I told Tony, I said, I'm not putting up with this market up to market down stuff. And Tony said, I would never do that. And I know he wouldn't. I kid. Tony says, I don't believe in that. 15% off is 15% off their normal pricing, and it happens from now until the end of the month, but you need to get in. Go to mycabinetsolution.com. That's mycabinetsolution.com, and schedule an appointment with Tony today. And tell him that I, Matt Murphy, sent you to Cabinet Solutions.
4 o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. And right now in our nation's capital, President Trump just signed an executive order to dismantle the Federal Department of Education, but he says not the critical programs that come with it.
Pell Grants, Title I funding, resources for children with disabilities and special needs will be preserved, fully preserved.
Governor Bill Lee, Secretary of State Trey Hargett there in the room with other states' dignitaries at the signing. Congressman Rose wasn't there. He's too busy here in Middle Tennessee.
Today, I ask for your vote for Governor of Tennessee.
Congressman Rose on his way to the studios to join WTN's Matt Murphy to talk more about his gubernatorial bid. Back in D.C., the federal judge demanding more information about deportation flights has extended a deadline. ABC News national correspondent Stephen Portnoy with the latest.
In a statement, the Justice Department says it views the judge's questions about the deportation flights as superfluous and the details he seeks as sensitive national security information. But in an order, Judge James Boasberg says the administration has evaded its obligations with a response to his inquiries that is woefully insufficient. Boasberg now says the Justice Department has until 10 a.m. Friday to update him on the possible invocation of the state secrets privilege, under which the government may keep a military matter from the courts.
U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi calls it domestic terrorism and announced today 3 people are facing federal charges for firebombing Tesla dealerships and charging stations in Oregon, Colorado, and South Carolina. A group called Indivisible Tennessee is planning what it calls Tennessee Tesla takedown protests on Saturday. They're going to be at 4 Tesla showrooms, one in Franklin, Knoxville, Chattanooga, and Memphis. And starting later this month, Social Security going to require more in-person visits to fight fraud. Starting March 31st, beneficiaries who cannot use online tools will need to visit a Social Security office in person with proof of identity. And right now in Nashville, we've got some news about development and jobs. The Tennessean says Oracle closed today on $60 million worth of more land on the East Bank, where it's going to build its new global headquarters and employ at least 8,500 workers. They bought it from GBT Brentwood. And Nashville is building a new stadium over there on the East Bank, and the Tennessean says Governor Lee just submitted a letter of official interest to NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell to host the 2029 Super Bowl. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. All right, drivers, got an injury crash reported by police 440 westbound after Murphy Road. Rivergate area crash 65 northbound right before Vietnam Veterans Boulevard. 24 eastbound at Murfreesboro Pike. Looks like they're still trying to clean up where a car caught fire. The right lane is blocked. TDOT says that's still going on. And in Smyrna, we've got a crash reported by TDOT, 24 eastbound at Almaville Road. Rural Hill, an accident, 24 westbound at Bell Road. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey, kids, it's the Matt Murphy Radio Show underway on this Thursday edition, March 20. Glad to have you with us. I failed to mention in the first hour, it's episode 774 of our visits together on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I also failed to mention that in the 5 o'clock hour, for one of you, you will win an opportunity for you and a guest to visit with me, to sit with me at the Men of Valor breakfast coming up on March 26th. I will be figuring out a way to give that away. I'm trying to figure it out in a way that will best benefit the Men of Valor, but we'll figure it out by the 5 o'clock hour. Just listen up for that. I am honored to have a table there at the Men of Valor breakfast, and we're giving away opportunities for you to be a part of that. That's coming up at the 5 o'clock hour on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. You can watch us on Super Talk TV, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch. It is my understanding that if you watch us, you have an opportunity there to give the old thumbs up, the like, the subscribe. And when you do, it's going to cost you an amount of money, which is, Ken Weaver, how much does it cost to like and subscribe?
Absolutely nothing.
Well, that's no amount of money then. Absolutely nothing. So there you go. Like and subscribe at your leisure, and it will cost you nothing to do so. John Rose, John Rose folks have let me know that they're running a little bit late. They got out of the Wilson County Fairgrounds late, shaking hands and talking to folks about his announcement earlier today, obviously doing a lot of press interviews, I'm sure. We will be the first sit-down long-form interview that John has given since the announcement earlier today. That's happening at some point this hour. They will be pulling up, and as soon as they do, we'll be going to get him and get him in studio. Congressman John Rose joining us to talk about his run for governor of the state of Tennessee. Very excited about that. Talking with you on the phone, 615-737-9986. If you have any question for Congressman Rose about his run and his position on any number of issues, obviously, I have a list full of questions. But yours are more important. 615-737-9986. Get them in to the super text line, and we will pass those questions along to the congressman. In the meantime, Keith writes in and says, when it comes to, we were talking apples last hour. Keith says when it comes to apples, he likes his caramel.
Well, you can't go wrong there.
Cannot go wrong.
Yeah, I might need to look into that, too. It might be quieter.
Would anybody like to know the Georgia-Gonzaga score?
Nope.
Yeah.
Shut up, Weaver. Apparently, somebody already knows it.
Tell it, Brother Murphy.
Last I checked, it was 30-12.
Hey, it's better than it was, dude.
It was 27-3, so I guess we're doing better.
Oh, they're coming back.
The old comeback. That's like, you know what? That feels like what it would be if Georgia was the other way around, if Georgia was playing Gonzaga in football.
Yeah, that's right.
Wow. We can't all be winners in the round ball. Tennessee, I'm looking at you guys. Good luck to you. Can I be a de facto Tennessee fan for the tournament?
Well, sure you can, Brother Murphy. You can cheer for anybody you want.
Well, thank you, Ken. I appreciate that. I'll take that under advisement. Let me see. I can't root for Clemson. They're losing.
Yeah, they're.
I think my bracket is pure. I really do.
Well,
I've lost every game that I've picked so far.
Yeah, but you still got your Final Four intact, right?
Yes, I do. Auburn, Florida, Duke, and Tennessee. I went mostly chalk on the old Final Four, so I'm still all good on that. Yeah, thank you, Ken. Ken Weaver's the optimist of the group, I think. I'm an old curmudgeon. Weber's kind of a pessimist.
I'm the one. I just don't care. I don't care.
Brother Chris, Brother Chris is just indifferent.
He's a nihilist is what he is.
Basketball.
He's a nihilist. Look, he believes in nothing.
Oh.
What's that line from the Big Lebowski? No, Donnie, these men are nihilists. They believe in nothing. All right, Jim is on the road. He wants to talk homeschooling, which has been a big subject of conversation for me over the past week or so. You see what happens to me, Jim, when Chris Webber's not here? I start screaming and yelling at people, telling them to beat their kids. Anyway, Jim, what's going on? Jim.
Well, I think that there's can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you.
You got me?
Yes, sir. I've got you.
I'm amazed by the paranoia between the two sides of who doesn't trust who to educate their kids. And while we're all concerned about that, there's got to be a little bit of trust between the two sides. And I think, and listen to you, I think you're trying to put that out there. I'm just trying to clarify a little bit that might help you out by some folks more intelligent than us. Frederick Hayek wrote that book, The Road to Serfdom. He might not be the only person who said it, but one of the things I read from that book was, he said, imagine a governing body that needed a 90% approval rate, or not approval rate, but 90% of the body had to vote for something in order for it to pass. If that, in that theoretical situation, nothing would be brought to that governing body unless they knew it was going to pass, and all the maneuver put aside. So we take that theory and put it towards homeschooling, because the issue comes down to is, well, what am I going to have to teach my kids if I homeschool? Because what the public schools have is a bunch of crap. One of you guys said, one of your listeners came in and said they had vertical balloon launching or something. I said, and that is stuff that worries people. Is what is being put out there, is it useful? Because we need to trust whoever's teaching our kids to teach them the things that need to be taught. So put those two together, the 90%, if the 90% of people had to agree with something, and put that with the homeschooling. What will 90% of the people agree to that needs to be a standard for people? And I think it comes down to reading, writing, and arithmetic. There's nobody in this country who's going to say that kids don't need to read or don't need to write or don't need to know math. Now, the extent of how much you need to, like you have to read at a certain level, that's minutia. But the state needs to set a standard up at some point, because there's always people at home who say, I don't trust public schools. I can probably teach my kids. I mean, where would they go for the reference for that? They'd have to find a homeschooling reference, and I know there's a bunch of that out there, but you still got to have a basic capability to teach. Not everybody is a teacher. So if we
Jim, did you happen to listen to the conversation that I had the other day with Brandon Lewis?
I might have.
Okay, so the reason that I ask is part of the reason that I get so frustrated with Lewis and his ilk is that the basic premise of their presentation is that we believe this way, and if you do not believe just as we believe on this or any other subject, then you are lesser than. You are a lesser than conservative. You are a lesser than American. You are a lesser than Tennessean. And they, by the premise of their argument, make it personal. My suggestion is and was that reasonable people can disagree where exactly the line ought to be drawn. Most of us agree, the vast majority of us agree, that parents ought to have the right to educate their children in their home if that is their desire.
Sure.
What my simple statement is that as a society, and I think you would agree with this given your 1090 analogy or your 1090 quote, that the vast majority of Tennesseans believe that as a society we should tether in some way that homeschool with our government or our school system in a way that ensures that the children are getting an education at all.
Well, right. But that comes down to that. when you put it that way, it reminds me of back when the Democrats wouldn't agree with a certain immigration policy because they always said we need a comprehensive immigration policy, and it never went any further than that. If you constantly, what you need to do is have a little bit more specificity when you're talking to these folks, because again we're saying the same thing. It's just I think that instead of saying we need to have some kind of connection, to come down and say, well, let's find the things that when you say reasonable person, that can glance off of people who the extreme folks who are extreme have extreme opinions. That'll go right past right over their head, and they'll say, well, reasonable person, that doesn't exist. And it does, because the extremes are the 10% on one end and 10% the other.
I have yet to.
The middle are going to agree on this.
And I have yet to have it explained to me what is currently wrong with the homeschool system that we have currently. I mean,
it's a struggle. I'm struggling with you. I'm like, dude, just somebody say what answer the egg on.
What are we trying to fix? Because I can tell you, and thank you, Jim, for the call. Very, very thoughtful. I can tell you the problems that could be created out of the legislation. And for those that missed the conversation or missed the subsequent discussions, there was a bill that was moving through the legislature that got defeated that would have created further separation from homeschoolers in terms of reporting requirements. And I won't go into the minutia of it, but several Republicans did not see the value in it, and they voted it down. They did see the value in keeping, truancy requirements or attendance requirements and keeping, just some basic testing requirements. And for that, there were some purity conservatives in the state of Tennessee that said that they weren't real conservatives and they're not real Republicans. And I got accused of not really believing in freedom. You don't really believe in freedom. That's not true. Reasonable people can have discussions like this and not start casting aspersions and throwing out ad hominem attacks. But that is the MO of the Gary Humbles of the world. It's the MO of the Brandon Lewises of the world. They are pure as the wind-driven snow. And if we lived in a world that was controlled by them, everything would be perfect, according to them. In the meantime, they control nothing except their own web pages where they accept large amounts of donations from the general public who buy into their nonsense. Danny is next. Hey, Danny, how are you?
Good afternoon, sir. I had a comment about this homeschooling versus public schooling stuff.
Yes, sir.
And what I want to say, sir, shoot, now you don't know who you're talking to. Anyways, when I went to school,
did it upset you that I called you sir?
Well, I was on the other side of the house when I was in the military. I was enlisted. I was not an officer. So,
my grandfather taught me to show your respect to people that you speak with.
I actually do that too. I say sir and ma'am, but I just give you a hard time.
Anyway, no, that's all good. All good.
It's all good. So here we go. I went to public school, and if I didn't behave proper and I didn't get good grades, I would get homeschooled real quick when my dad got off work, and I would do better in public school the next day. And that's how that's supposed to work. And I think we've lost the homeschooling end of it on what you're supposed to do, how you're supposed to act and learn in the public environment. And, for instance, they had corporal punishment in the public schools where you'd be there first day and a teacher would bring out this big old paddle, say, if you act up, I'll swat you with this. And that was okay. And when I got home, if I did act up, I would not only get the wooden paddle at school, but I'd also get beat with the Bible real hard when I got home. So that's homeschooling to me, is straighten up and act right, and parents got to care about you. So does that make any sense to you? I mean, it's a little humorous, but it's kind of true too.
Look, I lived, Danny, my grandfather, and thank you for the call. My pa, who I talk about quite often on this show, the finest man to ever walk the face of the earth, in my opinion, the smartest man to ever walk the face of the earth. My pa never laid a hand on me. The reason my grandfather never laid a hand on me is because I watched him lay hands on my brother with regularity, and I wanted none of it. None of it. My grandfather, when I was a younger person, he was firm, fair, and had a hair trigger. You fully understood what the expectations were, you fully understood what the rules were, and you fully understood what the consequences were of breaking those rules. And what you did not know is when the trigger would be set off. But I watched it enough that I stayed the hell away from it. Because when it happened, and I'm not saying this is right, I'm saying this is reality. When I was 8, 9, 10 years old, and my brother was 2 years older than me, when my brother got out of bounds, my grandfather would lay hands on whatever was around and just start whipping him with it. Garden hose, welding rod, whatever. And I wanted none of it. None of it. Point being is that I became great friends with my grandfather in my adult life. But when I was growing up, I wasn't a buddy. My grandfather was not a buddy. He was the law. He was the discipline wing of the Wilson family. This is my mother's parents, and his surname was Wilson. And let me tell you, I understood what the law said and what the consequences were. And so when I did well in school, when I understood that I had to get something done or something accomplished, when there was a decision point in my life and I maybe veered off the reservation a little bit and went the wrong direction, what would get me back to the right direction or what put the fear of God in me was my grandfather. He was the authority figure in my life. No school. Now, the school, sure, there were authority figures there too, obviously, but all of them were subsequent and secondary to my grandfather. We do not have enough parental figures like that in our lives. We do not have enough masculine males in our lives as a society. And part of the reason that people are just leaving the Democrat Party and the leftist movement in droves is because they suggest to you that men acting as men were designed to be biologically is somehow an ist, whether it's chauvinist or sexist or it's ridiculous. What it is ridiculous. So if that's the spirit of what you're talking about, I get it. And we have far too many. Look, I'm not knocking single moms. My mother was a single mom for what it was worth, absent a couple of years where I had a stepfather, but I always had my grandfather in my life, thank God. I don't know where I would be without him. So I'm not knocking single mothers. I understand that, but I also understand the value of having a masculine presence in the life, especially in the life of a young boy. 22 minutes after the hour on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, friends, Matt Murphy for Genesis Diamonds. Gentlemen, do you have a birthday coming up? That significant other of yours? Maybe it's an anniversary coming up. Now, you might not see the value in a big birthday gift from Genesis Diamonds. You might not see the value in an anniversary gift, but I guarantee you this, she does. And we are lucky to have Genesis Diamonds around because you can get, speaking of value, great value out of that home run gift from Genesis. Matter of fact, whether it's $500 or $50,000, whatever your price point is, they have something for you, and they are going to treat you like family at Genesis. I understand that it's a weird situation, guys. When you walk in, you don't know anything about diamonds. You don't know anything about diamond buying. Never fear. They're non-commissioned sales folks. They will walk you through the process. They'll take you by your hand. They'll explain it to you. They'll educate you, and they'll find the right thing for you by asking questions of you and allowing you to ask questions of them. That's how the process works at Genesis Diamonds. Plus, it is the best value around, bar none. Nationwide guarantee on that. Go to Genesis Diamonds today to see extraordinary service, unmatched quality, unbeatable value, and unrivaled selection. No compromises. Genesis Diamonds, Green Hills and Cool Springs.
President Trump makes good on another campaign promise, and Republican state lawmakers say they're ready for protests when legislation to give school districts the option of refusing to enroll illegal immigrant students come up for votes next week. We'll tell you about those stories and more at 4:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Going to find out how our man, Congressman John Rose, thinks about that, what he thinks about that, coming up in just a couple of minutes on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. As he is in the house, and we're getting him in studio, and we'll get him positioned here in just a moment. As a matter of fact, I'll take a call or two. We'll get the news, and then we'll crank up a great conversation with Congressman John Rose. If you're just joining us and have not heard, there's a lot of speculation as to which elected servants, public servants, will be casting their hat into the ring for governor of this great state. Well, we now have the answer to one of those, and that answer is Congressman John Rose. He's going to join us in just a couple of minutes and to talk about his day, big day for Congressman Rose and his entire family as they make their way into the studio right now on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. And I'm just excited and a little bit honored and humbled that he would take a little bit of time out of this very, very special day for himself and his family and his constituency and spend it with us. And as he sits in front of us, we say welcome to Congressman John. We only have a minute or two before the news break, but I guess it's plenty of time to say welcome and thank you and congratulations.
Well, thank you, Matt. Thanks for having me on the show this afternoon. It's an exciting day.
Oh, no doubt about that. You had a couple of things to say out of the Wilson County Fairground.
That's right. We're excited to announce that I'm running for governor of Tennessee in 2026 and just starting a conversation with the people of Tennessee.
Well, I mean, you figured all of us media types had jumped the gun so many times. You better just let the cat out of the bag there, I imagine.
That's right. Well, we've been working on planning for this and getting ready for the day that we could launch and have, all the team in place to make it happen. And today is that day. And so we're going to start a conversation with the people of Tennessee.
Well, we look forward to that. We're going to grab some news here in just a couple of seconds. Then we'll come back and we'll talk to you about some of your priorities and some of the stuff you talked about at the Wilson County Fairgrounds earlier today.
That's
Congressman John Rose is in studio with us. We'll be back in just a moment. We got Ken Weaver in the newsroom on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.4:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. President Trump has signed an executive order to dismantle the Department of Education, but says critical programs will not be touched, like Pell Grants, Title I funding resources for children with disabilities and special needs to be fully preserved.
They're going to be preserved in full and redistributed to various other agencies and departments that will take very good care of them, and that's very important to Linda, I know, and it's very important to all of us.
Linda McMahon, Education Secretary, whom Trump has tasked with taking down the very department she's been appointed and confirmed to run. Right now in Tennessee, GOP lawmakers ready for protests when legislation to give school districts the option of refusing to enroll illegal immigrant students comes up for votes next week. This is Hickson Republican State Senator Bo Watson and House Majority Leader William Lamberth.
I anticipate spirited debate with some of my colleagues on Tuesday, and I expect the public to be engaged in it, and that is the democratic process.
For anyone that comes to this Capitol, you're not going to shut down the people's business. So we were elected to come down here and debate very serious ideas. We would only ask that the guests that come to the Capitol, this is your Capitol. It belongs to you. It belongs to the people of the great state of Tennessee. We ask that you be respectful. We ask that you not try to shut things down or anything like that.
Democrats call the legislation un-American, inhumane, and unconstitutional. The latter is correct for now, under a SCOTUS ruling in 1982 stating every child has a right to a free public education no matter their citizenship, which Republicans hope to challenge by passing this bill. Elsewhere in Tennessee, Congressman John Rose, as you just heard, has officially launched a bid for governor in 2026. He's going to expound on that coming up after traffic and weather. The Tennessean says Oracle has closed on $60 million worth of more land on the East Bank for its global headquarters to employ 8,500 people. And Governor Bill Lee has submitted a letter of interest to NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell to host the 2029 Super Bowl in the new stadium being built on the East Bank. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. All right, police reporting that injury crash 440 westbound after Murphy Road. And then in the Rivergate area, police say they're on a crash 65 northbound before Vietnam Veterans Boulevard. That's going to be exit 95. Rural Hill, police reporting a crash 24 westbound at Bell Road. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey, friends, it's Matt Murphy, and I know it's pretty cold right now. I mean, it's the first day of spring. Tomorrow, the first official full day of spring, and you would expect it to be a little bit warmer, but it's chilly outside today, but it's getting warmer, and that indicates to me that you need to be calling Jeff Eddy in Efficient Heating and Cooling. He's a small company with big results in mind. He's not one of the big boy companies, but you can trust that Jeff Eddy's going to do things the right way, and that's what I like about him. When we first met, he said, listen, he said, I see all these folks that are, selling 80-year-old grandmas a 30-year air conditioning system or that sort of thing. He said, we don't do that at Efficient Heating and Cooling. We understand that folks in Tennessee have budgets, and we're trying to get you through the season as best we can. So if your AC is ready for another season, they're going to get it maintenanced up, less than $125 every maintenance visit from Jeff Eddy and Efficient Heating and Cooling. And if it's time to replace, he'll tell you that too. I mean, you don't want to get that news, but you can trust that it is the truth when it comes out of Jeff Eddy's mouth. Jeff Eddy and Efficient Heating and Cooling, 615-784-4424, or go to efficienthvac.net. That's efficienthvac.net.
Did you know you're overpaying for your health and wellness products?
With over 20 company-owned brands offering its members vitamins, supplements, wellness, and skincare products, you're able to save up to 70% off retail.
Members Nutrition can't change your life, but we can change the way you live.
Weather can change in an instant, and you need to be prepared for any outcome. That's why Generator Supercenter of Nashville will help keep your family safe and connected. We make buying a backup generator simple and easy, with financing options available, free in-home estimate, turnkey installations, no worry warranty, and most importantly, the monitoring and service of your fully installed generator. Come see us at our location in Nashville or visit us online. Generator Supercenter of Nashville. We serve all Middle Tennessee.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Matt Murphy Show in progress. It is 37 minutes after the hour. We are pleased to be joined by Congressman John Rose. Of course, John currently serves the 6th Congressional District in the state of Tennessee and has done so for a number of years. And he today at the Wilson County Fairgrounds officially threw his hat in the ring for governor of the state of Tennessee. Obviously, you'll see more folks making their announcements soon. I'd imagine that there would be some other people that would enter into the race. But John is here today in our studio to talk about that announcement and his decision-making process. John, I know how much you love the state. Just in our conversations, I know how much you love the 6th Congressional District and the people of the state of Tennessee. But, it's kind of one of those easy questions to ask to begin the conversation, but ask it I will. What led you to this decision-making? What compels you that you can serve best as governor of the state of Tennessee?
Sure. Well, I'm a conservative outsider who got involved in this because I so believe that President Trump's conservative vision for restoring the greatness of America made so much sense, and I wanted to be a part of helping make that happen at the national level. But I also want to see that done in Tennessee. Now, we happen to be, I think, that shining city on a hill for the rest of the country. We already have a lot of those conservative values. But we've had a lot of growth in recent years, and so the question is, what comes next, and how do we preserve those values? So we need a governor who's strong enough to stand up and protect the values that have made Tennessee great, and smart enough to help Tennesseans think about what the future holds and how we keep Tennessee.
How do you think we're doing? I mean, how do you think the state's doing?
I think we're doing great. I mean, we have low taxes, low debt, low regulations, a hospitable business environment, a hospitable social environment. That's why all these folks are coming to Tennessee. We love the state, but we've got to be a little more careful going forward. I think we can't attract people to Tennessee who want to come here and change it. Mm-hmm. We've got to make sure that when people are coming here, they want to embrace the values that we cherish, the values that created the environment that they're coming to in the first place. And so, generally speaking, I think we're doing well, but because of the success, I think we've got to become more determined and more specific in the policies that we put forward to safeguard all this.
You mentioned that you look at yourself as an outsider from a political perspective. What does that mean to you specifically? And for those who don't know, it occurs to me that maybe some folks don't know kind of your business background and your background in the state. Just walk us through that.
Sure. Well, I've spent my career as a farmer and as a small business owner, creating jobs, signing the front side of a paycheck. And so I know what it's like to have an idea and to start it and to build a business and create opportunities for other Tennesseans. And that's a very different thing than being a legislator. I'm not a career politician. I just, have had a brief period of experiencing what that process is like, and that will be useful to me. But at the end of the day, the process of leading the state, the process of being governor, I think that's more akin to what I've spent my lifetime doing, which is being involved as an entrepreneur in business, creating ideas, building organizations, inspiring people to make things happen. It's easy to vote no. It's sometimes easy to vote yes if it's the right policy. But when you have to actually create something and when you have to inspire people to actually roll up their sleeves and work to build something, that's a different enterprise. That's a different experience. It's a different challenge.
It occurs to me that you probably have, that executive experience probably comes from your business experience and the experience on the farm, right? Making those types of executive decisions. A little bit different in the Congress where you kind of have to herd all those cats together. So, I would think, which do you prefer?
Oh, the business experience by far. A lot of egos in Congress, and it's a different obligation. Each person is there to represent a specific constituency that they have, and also to advance what other ideas or agendas they're pursuing. Whereas in a business, you've got very objective measures that you've got to meet. You've got to make payroll. You've got to make it work. And you can't just vote and not give consideration to what the consequences will be down the line. And sometimes for legislators, it's too easy to just say no and not think about then how do we actually move the ball forward. And in business, you have to do that every day.
Are you before we move further down the road of talking about you as governor, I want to ask you a couple questions involving your role in Congress. Are you happy where we are in terms of advancing the Trump agenda so early on? It's less than 100 days right now, but it feels like we've gotten so much accomplished. Just today, he signs the executive order, doing what he can to begin the process of dismantling the Department of Education. I expect that that's something that you support?
Absolutely. I think that should happen. We go back to 1979. I was a freshman in high school when Jimmy Carter persuaded a Democratic majority, and not all of them, to actually create the Department of Education. And what we've seen is the quality of education, the outcomes for American school children have gone down every year since then. Mm-hmm. And so I think that is the thing that we should do, and return resources and responsibility more fully to the states, where it should have always been. And let the states be laboratories for democracy. I mean, that's what the founders intended, and so I think that's the right path to be on. I am encouraged by the successes that we've had in these first 2 months since President Trump took office. Certainly inspired by the energy and vitality and that he's brought to the office. What a sea change!
It's a juxtaposition, but between the last guy and Trump.
Sleepy Joe we got used to, but now I think it's awakened Washington. It's awakened the Senate. It's awakened the House, frankly. And we've come together, and Republicans have got the job done here in these recent weeks, and set the stage to actually pass, the next part of President Trump's conservative vision for restoring the greatness of America. So proud to be there and exciting to get to be a part of that. That's why I went to Washington, because I so believe that President Trump's vision was the right way forward for this country.
Is there an urgency in Congress to get some of this codified? Because so much of this, and I get it. I mean, Biden throws executive orders. I mean, the executive branch is taking advantage, frankly, of I don't know if it's an inability, unwillingness. They're using these executive orders. Some of them are perfectly legitimate in their nature, but some of them, if we want to make this permanent, we need to see the Congress act as well. Do you feel like there's an urgency up there to get that done?
Absolutely, and I think that's why you see Republicans coming together. We know we have a past of not coming together on these things, and so you've seen the Republicans in Congress where we had to get every vote but one 2 times in a row to move
was the CR
forward.
a hard vote for you in terms of? I mean, is that tough?
I hate continuing resolutions, because essentially we're continuing the policies of the past to some degree when you do that. I think what made it make sense here is we needed to get that out of the way so that we can turn our attention to budget reconciliation, which is the way that we're going to implement President Trump's agenda. Mm-hmm. So if you think about it, we could pass all this through the House, I think. And I think those naysayers that we have in the House that are pushing back, they want to see us just kind of go it alone. And press it through. The problem is over on the Senate, where they've got to attract 7 Democrats to get past a filibuster in the Senate. And so the one way that we have, the tool that we have to go around that is reconciliation. And so if we do that, we just have to have a simple majority. We know we have at least a couple of senators who we never can fully count on, sometimes 3. And so, that's how we're going to get this done. And so over the next 6-8 weeks, the House is going to be busily at work, and hopefully the Senate will follow suit of drafting the specific provisions that write the laws that match the budget resolution that we passed 3 weeks ago. And in that will be the implementation of President Trump's revision for restoring America.
If I'm not mistaken, we haven't had like a budget since you've been up there, right? Like a budget just done the right way with 12 different appropriation bills. I mean, how much? I mean, and I know we're talking governor. I know we're talking state of Tennessee, but before you cross that threshold, how exciting would it be this summer to vote on some separate appropriation bills and kind of get a budget passed the right way?
Sure. So to do the full-blown appropriations process, I think it's happened 4 times since 1978. So it's been a while.
Right.
Republicans in the House last year, we passed all the appropriations bills out of committee. I'm not on the appropriations committee, but we got that done, and then we ran into some brick walls, in getting them past the full House. And so then that's why we end up in this situation we're in now. But budget reconciliation is a different thing. And so the Democrats did it at the very beginning of the Biden administration. Republicans did it back in late 2017 when they passed the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. So there has been a more recent history of success there. So I think we will succeed in getting that done, frankly, sometime in late April, early May. And that will be the first big stride forward because it will not only make real cuts to government and get us on a track towards stopping the runaway deficit spending that has really gotten this country in a bad way, but it will also put in place the provisions that will help President Trump implement his agenda and make permanent some of the things that he's already been doing.
I don't claim to be, I like to say the old Groucho Marx line that I wouldn't belong to any club that would have me as a member, right? So, I don't have necessarily any affiliation, but I so associate with Republicans and conservatives because they have values, and I understand what those values are. And I think that is demonstrated in D.C., certainly in the state of Tennessee. But one more national question. I want to move on to some state stuff. The Democrats seem lost in the wilderness. I think more and more of the American people recognize that so much of what they're selling is just smoke and mirrors. You saw a moment of clarity. You referenced it when Chuck Schumer recognized that there was no reasonable, good path forward for the American people except to move forward with the CR. And he's been destroyed by his own party as a result. I mean, how can Republicans best take that opportunity in front of them and present themselves to maybe even some lifelong Democrats and say, listen, this is the way forward for you and your family in the near term and in the long term?
Well, I think, again, you see that with them standing in the way of things that are 80, 90% issues for the American people. And so you saw that in the State of the Union address. I think that on display when their side can't even stand up and applaud a 13-year-old boy who survived cancer, when their side can't, be happy about someone getting an appointment to the military academy. This was, I think, that threshold moment when Democrats really demonstrated that they don't get what's important to Americans. And at some level, they've lost their soul, I would say. And we saw that on display. So I think it is a time when we can bring forward issues that the vast majority of Americans, like protecting women in women's athletics, and, to consider that the American people are overwhelmingly with us on that, and how important Title IX was to create opportunities for people like my wife and my sisters, and yet they're willing to destroy all that to make a political point, I guess, and such that when we bring this up, even in this current environment, after the elections of 2024, and only two Democrats in the House would vote with us for that. And I think that is where we start to convince the American people.
I want to talk to you in a moment, and you laid some of this out in the Wilson County Fairgrounds speech, priorities as governor of the state of Tennessee. I want to talk to you about that right after our timeout. Congressman John Rose is with us. He has announced today that he is running for governor of the state of Tennessee. We'll continue this conversation right after this on Super Talk. Listen, I don't know if you guys know this about me, but I'm not a very smart guy, and I don't know anything about health insurance. And I'm smart enough to know that I don't know anything about health insurance, but I do know Shane Ring at Cover Nash, and that's a good thing, and you need to get to know Shane as well. Do not trust a call center when it comes to your health insurance, and the insurance of your family. Trust Shane Ring at Cover Nash. He asks a couple of questions of you. Number one, do you know if you're paying too much for your insurance? If the answer is no, you don't, you need to call Shane. Number two, are you getting the coverage that you deserve? Are you getting the coverage that you need? If the answer is no to those questions, call Shane Ring at Cover Nash. He wants you to be informed about your health insurance coverage. He has the ability in his shop in Brentwood to shop nationwide coverage plans that are right for you. He can comparison shop, make sure that you're getting the best manageable deal possible, the maximizing your money when and wants you to take control, really, of your money and your health insurance coverage managed by you, not by the government. CoverNash.com or call 615-465-0023, 465-0023.
How President Trump takes a step toward dismantling the Department of Education. Congressman John Rose is in studio with us. He's officially launched a bid for governor, and it's World Happiness Day. Hear who is happy and who is not so happy. Coming up at 5 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you, Ken Weaver. A couple of minutes of additional comment and commentary and conversation with our good friend, Congressman John Rose, about his announcement that he is running for governor of the state of Tennessee. And then after Ken's newscast, I've convinced John and Chelsea to stick around for a couple of additional moments. So we'll have him till about 5:15 this afternoon. So plenty of time for you to get your questions in on the Super Text line, 615-737-9986. In the couple of minutes before the top of the hour news, you laid out a few of your priorities as governor of the state of Tennessee, should you be so honored. Just walk us through some of those issues that you think need to be kind of at the top of the list for you.
Sure. Well, I think at the very top of the list is just protecting what makes Tennessee special, protecting our Tennessee values. But then as we dig into that, I would say education is number one. If we don't educate the next generation of Tennesseans to be prepared for the next generation of jobs, then this state won't prosper and we won't be successful and we won't be able to preserve our values. And so one of the commitments I made is that we're going to have a commissioner of education who has taught in a Tennessee classroom. Mm-hmm. And I think for two reasons. One, I think it will send a message that we value our values and we want somebody who understands them, that's a Tennessean. And number two, it will send a strong message, I think, to our teachers that we appreciate them and that we think that someone who shares their background and experience can lead the effort in Tennessee. Transportation and infrastructure is a serious challenge across our state. Everywhere we go, everybody I talk to recognizes that. And so we've got to figure out how we're going to have the roads, transportation, the broader infrastructure that the state needs. Solid waste is an issue. You talk to any county mayor in our state, and they'll tell you that's a problem. And so we've got to prioritize that. Access to health care. The current district I represent, we have 4 counties that don't have a hospital. They don't have access to real emergency care for the people, and that's true in several rural counties across our state. We've lost more rural hospitals in the last few years than any other state but Texas. So that's another priority. Mm-hmm. And then energy, we saw this 2 years ago and we had rolling brownouts across Tennessee. Mm-hmm. We can't take for granted any longer that we're going to have the energy to provide growth for our economy and to make sure that when you flip the switch, the lights come on. So we've got some serious problems that we've got to address.
Oh, boy, there's great follow-ups that are to come on those issues, primarily the healthcare and the energy piece, and we'll do that in just a moment with Congressman John Rose, who is in studio with us after announcing earlier today at the Wilson County Fairgrounds he's running for governor. You can find out more. What's your website, John, for those who
JohnRose.com.
Huh. Imagine that. John, that's easy to spell, too. JohnRose.com. We'll be back in a moment. News now, and we've got one more segment with Congressman John Rose right after this.
Five o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast and traffic coming up in 5 minutes. President Trump has signed an executive order directing Education Secretary Linda McMahon to shrink the department she oversees. He says it's about returning student issues to the states. But he says things like Pell Grants, Title I funding, and special needs resources will all be preserved and redistributed to other agencies.
They're going to be preserved in full and redistributed to various other agencies and departments that will take very good care of them. And that's very important to Linda, I know, and it's very important to all of us.
This does not impact curriculum because local and state school districts handle that. Right now in Tennessee, 6th District Congressman John Rose officially launching a bid for governor in 2026. He's in studio with WTN's Matt Murphy, who asked how he thinks Tennessee's doing currently.
I think we're doing great. I mean, we have low taxes, low debt, low regulations, a hospitable business environment, a hospitable social environment. That's why all these folks are coming to Tennessee. We love the state, but we've got to be a little more careful going forward, I think. We can't attract people to Tennessee who want to come here and change it.
He says to do that, Tennessee has to become more determined and more specific in the policies put forward. Almost 1 year to the day that a container ship crashed into the support of the Francis Scott Key Bridge in Baltimore, the National Transportation Safety Board is making recommendations.
We're urging 30 owners of 68 bridges in 19 states to perform a vulnerability assessment of their bridge's risk of catastrophic collapse from a vessel collision.
None of those states include Tennessee. The Tennessean says Oracle has closed on $60 million worth of more land on the East Bank for its global headquarters, which will employ 8,500 people. Governor Bill Lee has signed a letter of interest, or rather submitted a letter of interest to NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell to host the 2029 Super Bowl in the new stadium being built on the East Bank. Tesla attacks. U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi charging 3 people in the Molotov cocktail attacks on Tesla dealerships and charging stations in Colorado, South Carolina, and Oregon. That's in protest of Elon Musk and Doge. Here in Tennessee, a group called Indivisible Tennessee is planning what it calls a Tennessee Tesla takedown protest at 4 Tesla showrooms, one in Franklin, Knoxville, Chattanooga, and Memphis on Saturday. And happy World Happiness Day. It's an annual event the United Nations has marked since 2012. The UN's World Happiness Report finds that Finland is the happiest country on the planet, followed by Denmark, Iceland, and Sweden. Jim Ryan has a look at the happiest places in the United States.
Just as Nordic countries dominate the list of world's happiest places, California has the top 3 spots in the U.S., led by Fremont near San Francisco. On the bottom,
Memphis, Tennessee, Detroit, Michigan, Cleveland, Ohio.
Says Chip Lupo of Wallet Hub.
They all have very high unemployment rates, but also high poverty rates.
Lupo's research finds that someone making $75,000 a year is about as happy as someone making $200,000.
Money doesn't buy happiness.
At least above the poverty line.
That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. Rivergate, 65 northbound to Vietnam Veterans Boulevard. Crash reported by police. Berry Hill got a police reporting a crash at 65 northbound after 440. Over in the area of Vanderbilt, 21st Avenue South, just north of Blakemore Avenue and Wedgwood Avenue, police reporting a crash. And then in Sylvan Park, police reporting a crash 440 westbound after Murphy Road. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It is 5:07. Super Talk 99.7 WT, and it's not often that we beg of guests to stay around from 1 hour to the next, but this is a pretty special one in as much as we have the great Congressman John Rose in studio with us, 6th Congressional District, serving those in said district, and announcing himself to public service as a candidate for governor of the state of Tennessee earlier today at the Wilson County Fairgrounds, and he's talking about that announcement and his desire to serve as your next governor. We were discussing right before the top of the hour, Congressman, your priorities, and you mentioned some healthcare, education, and energy. Those are the three biggies that I heard. And I want to talk about each of those in turn and get to some questions here before I know you have to go. On the energy piece, it feels to me, and I don't know as much as some that have lived here all their lives, but it feels to me that Tennessee is well positioned to better and further explore. We've already explored the nuclear space, the nuclear energy space quite a bit, obviously, but it feels like we are positioned to continue that, and that feels like where America perhaps needs to go in terms of energy needs in the future. Continue to enjoy the blessings of fossil fuel and to explore that, but also to create this new avenue. What do you say about it?
Absolutely. I would begin by saying we shouldn't be closing down, though, perfectly good coal-fired generation until we have a replacement in place. And it's unfortunate that we saw the last administration and even all the way back to the Obama administration advancing policies to force us to close down those plants because we need them. We need the power that they generate. But you're right about nuclear. We're blessed in the Tennessee Valley today. We get 40 to 50% of our power of our baseload power from nuclear energy. We should be striving to get more there. We are positioned to build the first in the nation small modular reactor at Clinch River in Oak Ridge. And that will be a great jumping off point for the Valley to further our ability to tap into what nuclear can produce for us. And then we're on the cutting edge with respect to the fourth generation nuclear, the next generation of nuclear that will come online in the 10, 15, 20, 30 years out period. And so that is a good story for Tennessee, and we've got to do everything we can to foster that. And Governor Lee has taken some important steps to help facilitate that, and I'm proud of what he's doing there.
You know, I understand what you mean when you talk about how, hospitals have kind of regionalized their approach to the care that they give. And in some cases, at my hometown of Thompson, Georgia, no P in Thompson, Thomson, outside of Augusta, Georgia, they lost their small hospital that served McDuffie County. And now, there are a few, emergency clinics. But other than that, you've got to drive 35, 40 miles to go to a hospital. What is government's role in that, John? I mean, and how does it take the form of trying to encourage medical facilities to find those places where there are gaps in the zones? Talk to me about that.
Sure, and I think my experience in my service in Congress has helped to inform me there. As I mentioned earlier, we have 4 counties in the 6th District that don't have rural hospitals. 3 of them have not had them for quite some time. When I came into office, we were losing one of our hospitals, and so that got us interested in this, got me interested in exploring this, and I think it will inform how I approach this if I get to be the governor, if the people of Tennessee choose me for me to do that. Fentress County is really the poster child for this. So there is a new standalone emergency clinic there, emergency room and clinic in Fentress County. That's a public nonprofit partnership, and we help to figure that out and help make that happen. So thankful to Fentress County's leadership, Mayor Jimmy Johnson, and also the University of Tennessee Medical Center for coming in, and it's working. And so I think that could be a model for getting true emergency care close to the patient, and something that we should try all across Tennessee. So that's how I would see government's role. The federal government's health policies are what causes this problem. They've made it impossible for rural hospitals to be successful, and that's why we've seen so many of our rural hospitals fail. So we've got federal issues to work with, but even within the existing framework, there's a way to make this work at the local level, and we need to find that.
I don't pretend to know as much about Tennessee's policies as I do Alabama's, but I know in Alabama they have this certificate of need. I think that exists in the state of Tennessee. Do we need to lessen those burdens on individuals or companies that want to come into communities? I mean, do we need a certificate of need with regard to hospitals?
Well, those things came about because you didn't want excessive competition where you build one hospital and you build another one across the street and then they both can't be successful. But I think, yes, I think generally we want competition to work. And so if someone has a better mousetrap, we want them to build it and see how it works. When you've got government involved in underwriting and subsidizing these things, then that complicates the situation. And that's where I think then you have to start thinking about all these other issues you've got to regulate to make sure that doesn't get out of hand. And so I think there is legislation to remove the certificate of need in Tennessee, and that's something I would certainly be looking at.
On the education piece, were you a supporter of Governor Bill Lee's Freedom Scholarship Act?
I am a supporter of choice, and I think that's at the core of what the governor is trying to get to, is that we want parents to be able to have a choice. If their public school or their local schools are failing them, we want them to have some options. And so I think that's laudable. But I think everyone that looks at this will tell you this. We've got to make public education work in Tennessee. Regardless of what happens with respect to school choice, we're still going to have a lot of kids that are going to public schools. Most of the counties in Tennessee, the vast majority of them, don't even have a private school option. So if we ignore what it takes to make public schools work, and that's why I've made this commitment to, begin by showing that we're going to put a Tennessean who understands Tennessee values and understands Tennessee education in charge of our public education system. And then we're going to roll up our sleeves and figure out. And here's the good news. The improvements that have been made, starting with Governor Haslam and all the way through the Lee administration, they have set the stage for us to do better. And the recent scores, NAEP scores that have come out, show that we are making real progress. And here's the really interesting thing. If over the next 8 years, we get one additional student in each classroom to reach attainment levels each year for 8 years. If we just did that, so it's not an insurmountable goal, we'd be in the top 10, top 5 in every measure of public education nationally. So think about that. That's within our reach.
I'm going kind of rapid fire because I know you guys have to go. I want to be respectful of that. But on infrastructure, we had these choice lanes that were proposed by the governor, and I think they were implemented. Is that a mechanism that you're talking about to help with infrastructure? Infrastructure is one of those things that everybody assumes that the bridge is fine until the bridge isn't fine. But for you as a governor with, the Tennessee Department of Transportation, you've got to make sure the bridge is fine before the bridge collapses. And we have a lot of infrastructure needs. Is that something that you supported when you saw the state doing that? And what could you do as the next governor to continue that?
Well, again, if you look back 25 years ago, Tennessee was leading the nation in all ratings about public transportation systems. Our highways were considered among the very best in the country. We unfortunately took our eye off the ball about 20 years ago. 24 years ago, we took our eye off the ball. And now we find ourselves behind the 8 ball, as they say, and behind in terms of what we need to provide for public transportation. So I think we're in a position where we've got to kind of try a lot of different things to figure out this is a resource intensive. And when I say that, it means we got to spend a lot of money to fix this problem. And so I applaud the governor for looking for ways to do that, solutions that are kind of out of the box. He's also subsidized the road fund in this state for the last couple of years, and I think that proposal is up again this year to bring general fund revenue over to subsidize what we're doing for for highway construction in Tennessee. We're going to have a real serious conversation. One thing I'm certain of is I visit with Tennesseans. They all understand at this point and if you travel across the state, you really it's very crystal clear that we've got to make a big investment in improving our highways and the capacity of them.
When we talk about investment, we're talking about money. We have the money. Will we need additional resources, or do you believe that as governor, are you comfortable that Tennessee is bringing in the proper amount of money in terms of taxation?
I think we've got to look at where we spend the revenue that we generate as a state and make more difficult, if you will, priority decisions. You see the estimates of the backlog of road projects in the state now above $30 billion. And we, our current highway fund generates about $1 billion a year. So you can see we're not catching up. We're getting further behind. And the old adage, if you find yourself in a hole, you got to quit digging. So we've got to start not getting further behind. And so that's going to mean a serious conversation about, what are Tennesseans willing to do to solve this problem, and how do we prioritize where we're spending our money to make sure that, and it is about spending. Politicians like to say investing all the time. politicians, government spends.
Well, what? Just to throw it straight out there, when you talk about, we have to have a serious conversation. I think what many of our listeners are asking in their cars and in their homes right now is he talking about a conversation about additional taxation?
Well, I wouldn't start there because I think we are as we've seen in recent years, Tennessee's been doing pretty well with respect to revenue. We've been cutting taxes.
That's right.
And so I think it's just about figuring out what our priorities are going to be, where we're going to spend the money that we've got. We've spent money on a lot of things. We've got to set priorities. And I would say that the road area is an area where we probably haven't been applying enough of the resources that we already generate as a state.
John Rose is with us. He is congressman of the 6th Congressional District. I know he's got to get out of here. He's running for governor of the state of Tennessee. Made the announcement earlier today, and I'm just humbled that you made the decision to stop by. I know it's a very, very busy day for you. What else do the folks need to know about your candidacy? I know you're going to be traveling all over the state. You're going to be talking to folks in the villages and the towns and the hamlets and one of my favorite statistics, you probably know this, John, you're an 8th generation Rose, right? From right here in Tennessee. My favorite statistic about Tennessee is that it is further from Memphis to Bristol than it is from Bristol to Canada. That's a fact. You can look it up. Yeah. So it's a long state, but you'll be going from tip to tip, I imagine.
Right. And we've already been, just in recent months, I've been to over 2/3 of our counties, and we'll be making it to all of them in the near future, and then over and over again as we journey across the state to make to understand what Tennesseans have on their mind and to make our case to Tennesseans. You asked what I would let them know. I am the son of a farmer, the son of a public school teacher. I went to public schools, and I've got a 7-year-old who's in the 1st grade in a public school, and so
young guy,
and so
a rock star on the internet, by the way. To this day, y'all know. I mean, what a great.
We have to be careful. We try to keep his ego in check, That's right. But he's a great kid. We've got another son, Sam, and who's going to be in public schools too. So we understand, and Chelsea and I have a deep appreciation for what Tennesseans are going through, and so we know that we want to keep taxes low in Tennessee, and you'll have my commitment to do that. And one thing I haven't said that I think I would mention, we are so blessed to live in a country where we have freedom of speech, freedom of religion, but we also have a very important freedom that is, I think, a precedent to maintaining those freedoms, which is the Second Amendment freedom. And so if I'm elected governor, I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that we implement constitutional carry in Tennessee.
Oh, it's a big deal. That's a big deal. I didn't realize what a big deal it was until I talked to some folks with Tennessee Firearms Association, some other organizations. No, that's good. John, I look forward to the many conversations down the road. You've always been so available to the people, not to me. I'm not important in this, but to the people of the state of Tennessee. You've made yourself available, answering questions about things going on in D.C. that affect us here at home. I'm certain that that'll be the case on the campaign trail, and we wish you the best of luck and look forward to many conversations down the road.
Thank you. And I know you're going to spend a lot of time speculating about what else is going to happen. The one thing that's clear today, the one thing that's certain for Tennesseans is I'm a candidate for governor, and we're going to be making that case.
Thank you, John. We appreciate John Rose. We'll be back in a moment. We'll give you an opportunity to reflect on that conversation right after this. It's 20 minutes after the hour on Super Talk. Hey, friends, it's Matt Murphy, and I'm going to do this on the fly because I just dropped my copybook, but I think I can do it. Grace Point Healthcare is affordable healthcare in a direct pay fashion. They're a primary care physician right in Franklin, Tennessee. What does that mean to you? Well, at Grace Point Healthcare, when I sat down with these guys, they made me realize that insurance companies, and we kind of already knew this, right? They infuse themselves right in between the patient and the doctor. And when they do that, they create a dynamic by which they start making decisions instead of your physician who's sitting right there who wants to do certain things, but they can't because of insurance companies. That's where Grace Point Healthcare comes in. Because Grace Point Healthcare doesn't allow that insurance company to get in your way. They can make decisions that are best for you. And they never let a pharmaceutical company dictate to them how they do their thing either. Grace Point Healthcare is modern medicine delivered the old-fashioned way. What does this mean? It means you get in same day or next day. It means that if you pay $69 a month, you can have as many visits over the course of a year as you need. As you feel sick, just come on in and you don't pay anything additional for that office visit, plus basic diagnostics and labs. Call 599-6868 for more information. That's 599-6868. Grace Point Healthcare. Modern medicine delivered the old-fashioned way.
President Trump has signed an executive order directing the education secretary to start shrinking the department. We'll tell you what that means coming up at 5:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
525 Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name's Matt Murphy. This is the Matt Murphy Radio Show on Super Talk. Thank you for being around. Get to a few of your calls. Do you have a reaction to Congressman John Rose? He spent a good, 30 minutes or so of conversation with us today in the aftermath of his announcement that he's running for governor. It was an expected announcement. We expect some others to come down the road. Look what he got us. Weber's on the phone back there. Look what he got us. Weaver, you back there?
I'm here, Brother Murphy.
Look at what John got us.
All right.
You know what he said, though? This is pretty good.
What'd he say?
This is Politician 101. He said, I noticed that you've got that beautiful screen in the background and on camera. He said, you should put up the signs for every announced candidate for governor back there. And I was like, oh, really?
Everyone.
Announced. He said, every announced candidate should have a sign up. I was like, man, you want everybody else to jump in the race quick, don't you? Yeah, he brought us paraphernalia. That's pretty nice.
All right.
He said, you just tell me whose bumper this needs to be stuck on, and I'll stick it on there. So, and
that's a smart move.
Yeah, that's a smart guy. So anyway, John, spending some good time with us. Your thoughts on John Rose? I think the energy piece is well spoken. And look, y'all can listen to what he said about infrastructure. You can listen back to it on Talk TV, Super Talk TV, up and running, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and you can always listen back to that. We'll podcast the conversation as well. I know Chris Weber will do that. And listen to his answer. But I think the answer is very important. And there will be a variety of takeaways regarding that answer. But John said, and I don't think he's wrong, that we need to figure out as a state what our priorities are when it comes to infrastructure needs today, tomorrow, 10 years from now, and 20 years from now. I thought it was a very interesting answer. He was very firm on the Second Amendment regarding constitutional care. He talked about energy and the potential for small nuke reactors here in the state of Tennessee. Said we already have the licensing for some of that. And I would be very curious, and we will have an opportunity to do this. I'm very curious to explore further, what his thought is on the government relationship between these private hospitals and how to bring more hospital care to the rural communities where they seem to have lost it. I don't think that for me, government subsidy isn't the answer necessarily, but getting government out of the way might be in terms of, lessening the burden of the certificate of need board and that sort of thing. Mike is in Old Hickory with a thought on Congressman John Rose and his announcement for governor. Mike, what do you got?
Well, it's very simple. We got a politician that knows he's going to lose his job next year in 2026. So he's got to find a job. And that's called governor of Tennessee. So he comes down here and says, I'm running for governor. I'm going to clean up everything. And you know what, Matt, I'm sick and tired of these liars and these cheats. And they're basically now Republicans that just want to go to the states and say, I'm for Donald Trump. I want to clean up the mess. But then guess what? Have they done anything about these judges? Has John Rose started an investigation on these rogue judges that have been appointed, 235 of them that Chuck Schumer just admitted to on a PBS Telegram show, said that the last year of the Biden administration, appointed 235 progressive liberal judges to get rid of Trump.
So, you talk a lot. You said a lot in all of that, and I want to hit it one by one real quick, Mike, because I got to get to the news. But so you talk about John, losing his job. John is a multimillionaire. He owned a business. He sold the business. He sold that business, I think, for $60 million. John Rose does not depend on government for a job. Number two, Mike, hold on just a second. Let me finish, and then I'll give you a chance to retort. Okay? Secondarily, the House of Representatives runs every 2 years. John could easily run for his – I'm not here to defend him. I'm just trying to lay out some facts for you. If John ran for the 6th Congressional District, he would win easily re-election to Congress. So he's not out of a job in 2026. Why do you say that?
Because he won't be a congressman.
Yes, he will.
Because
I mean, if he could run again.
Because then when he leaves office, he will make the contacts up there in Washington, D.C. to make sure that his business is now going to be taken care of in the state of Tennessee or wherever he does business.
Mike, listen, I appreciate the call. I'm just going to terminate the call because you're not making a lot of sense, and I'm doing that out of love for you. What you're saying doesn't make a lot of sense. I said he doesn't own the business anymore, so nothing he's doing in Washington, D.C. is directly benefiting the business. I mean, look, I'm not here to defend John. I mean, you can feel the same way, but he's not out of a job in 2026. He's applying for a job. You can question some of his methods. You can question some of his ideological positions. I've seen no evidence that we question his sincerity in wanting to serve the state of Tennessee. Mike, thank you for the call. 532 on Super Talk.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Full forecast and traffic coming up in 5 minutes. President Trump has signed an executive order directing Education Secretary Lyndon McMahon to shrink the department she oversees. He says it's about returning student issues to the states. But he says things like Pell Grants, Title I funding, and special needs resources will all be preserved and redistributed to other agencies. As for teachers,
I want to just make one little personal statement. Teachers, to me, are among the most important people in this country, and we're going to take care of our teachers. And I don't care if they're in the union or not in the union. That doesn't matter.
And this does not impact curriculum because local and state school districts handle that. Election 2026, Congressman Rose officially launching his bid for governor. He joined WTN's Matt Murphy in studio to talk about some of his priorities, including the $38 billion backlog of infrastructure, transportation projects, for which he says Tennesseans need to have serious conversations about what they're willing to do to fix it and whether it will require more taxes.
Well, I wouldn't start there because I think we are as we've seen in recent years, Tennessee's been doing pretty well with respect to revenue. And so I think it's just about figuring out what our priorities are going to be, where we're going to spend the money that we've got. We've spent money on a lot of things. We've got to set priorities, and I would say that the road area is an area where we probably haven't been applying enough of the resources that we already generate as a state.
Another one of Rose's priorities is to ensure every Tennessean is within a half-hour's drive of health care, round trip. Right now in Nashville, the Tennessean says tech giant Oracle is closed on a $60 million worth of land on the East Bank. It's right next to land it's already purchased for its global headquarters. That campus to be home to at least 8,500 workers. The tech campus will be connected to Germantown by a pedestrian bridge once construction is finished, but it has yet to start. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. Police reporting a crash 65 northbound right after 440. Then we've got 24 eastbound past Wilma Rudolph Boulevard in Clarksville. Highway Patrol reporting a crash there. In the Rivergate area, police say there's a crash 65 northbound at Vietnam Veterans Boulevard. Back to 440 now. This is going westbound. Police reporting an injury crash right after Murphy Road. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hello, friends. Matt Murphy, and I want to talk to you for a moment about your Second Amendment rights and how you defend yourself in your home or in your property. And where do you go to get that piece that helps you do that? Well, you go to the Glock store. Of course you do. Why? Because they're the best in the business. That's why. Now, obviously, they're Glock store, but they have many different varieties of guns to choose from, whether they be handguns or long guns. But Glocks are their specialty, and there's a reason why Glocks. I mean, I have several Glocks in my home and absolutely love them. They're the most popular handguns in America because of the wide availability of customization. You know, I have a Glock 20 that I absolutely adore. That's the 10 millimeter, and I also have a 43 with a red dot optic on it, which I love these red dot optics. Right from the Glock store. And when you buy from the Glock store in Nashville, Tennessee, unlike some of the other guys around the country, or unlike those guys that get it shipped, you get a gunsmith right there on site to install that piece for you for free while you wait. I mean, that's just incredible. That just is what it is, right? So you buy the parts, they install them for free as you wait at the Glock store and peruse some of their incredible retail space. There's a lot of reasons to love the Glock store. This is one of them. Minutes away from the airport, worth the drive from anywhere, right there on Airlane Drive off of Elm Hill Pike. When you go on GlockStore.com or Shoot270.com, or when you go by the store, tell them Matt Murphy sent you to the Glock store. Hey, friends, Matt Murphy here for U.S. Pest. J.K. and Erica Brister are great Americans, and they're great owners of U.S. Pest. But I want to laud. If you're watching on Talk TV, you see me all the time holding this little card. I got this card before I was an endorser of U.S. Pest. Jesse came by the house and said that he wanted to hand me some of this, and it was such a polite and nice conversation. Told me that we could get a free inspection from U.S. Pest, that they could provide protection from all of those things that you want to keep out of your home, like roaches and stink bugs and spiders and ants and silverfish and so many more of the common Tennessee household and yard pests, termites and brown recluse spiders, ticks, fire ants, all of that can be taken care of with U.S. Pest. Jesse was such a nice guy. It led me to J.K. and Erica. It led me to U.S. Pest, and it led me to talking about them to you on Super Talk 99.7 WT. And I believe in the way they do their business. They are the best in the business when it comes to home pest protection, and now's the time to get it going. If you've skipped a few months over the winter months, it's time to get them back with U.S. Pest. Call 590-1260. You might see Jesse come out to your home for a free estimate. You never know. 590-1260, or go online to uspest.com. That's uspest.com. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Matt Murphy and you. It is 5:40. Getting to Nincompoops in the news moments from now. But right now, Larry in Clarksville, I think Larry's been holding so long, he probably wants to give me a butt whooping. It says butt whooping on my screen, Larry. Is that my butt whooping or what?
I can't do any butt whoopings anymore, man. But and thanks for taking my call, man.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
I homeschooled my son. I took him out of Glencliff as a junior because there were 26 active gangs at Glencliff. And he ended up graduating a year early with a 4.0 GPA. And I'm all about the homeschooling. And then as far as the butt whippings, my dad was out of my life when I was 10. So my mom was the one that laid down the law. And Matt, I was one of those that just was a little bit dumb. I couldn't learn my lesson. I used to have to go out and cut my own switches, and I'd have to pick one that wouldn't kill me, but one that would pass muster. But Mom would use a ping pong paddle, a belt, a switch, a fly swatter, or her hand when I got out of line, and I needed it.
Mm-hmm.
I was just, one of those kids that needed it. But, eventually I learned. And, that's some Cheatham County education right there.
You learned.
I learned.
You learned or you get whooped.
Oh, my God. I got whooped so many times. And, back when I was growing up, Matt, when you got in trouble in your neighbor's yard, they whooped you. And then when you got home, you got another whipping.
Well, I'll tell you, when I got in trouble in school, and I never did anything quite. I think I've told the story about mooning the class the time that I did. My grandpa, I thought he was going to kill me. Larry. Thank you for the call. I got a scoot. I was far more concerned with any discipline that I would receive from my grandfather than I ever was any discipline from any other authority figure in my life when I was a kid. You need that authority figure in your life. And y'all that had it, y'all know exactly what I'm talking about. The fear of the thunder that would descend upon you if you displeased that authority figure was enough to keep you in line more often than not. It is 43 minutes after the hour. I try to keep in line, and I am told by the super text line that it is time to deal with the nincompoops. That's right. By now, you know that Donald Trump signed that executive order eliminating the Department of Education earlier today. By now, you know that John Rose is running for governor. But do you know that there are nincompoops that live and work and breathe among us? We're here to bring you some of those nincompoops today with Ken Weaver, Chris Weber, and yours truly, Matt Murphy. We present 3 separate nincompoop stories from around the state, around the country, around the world. And then you get to vote on what your nincompoop of the day is. It's Nincompoops in the News on Super Talk. Yeah?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
All right, then. I mean, I could just go first and say my nincompoops are the Georgia Bulldogs, but I'll hold off. My goodness. Oh, we cut. Hey, the game's not over, Chris. We cut it to 20.
Yeah.
So that's nice.
Oh, wow.
You see, Clemson almost came back, Ken.
I know. They only lost by 2 points.
I mean, they still lost, but only by 2. But they were in my Elite 8. But whatever.
I don't think that counts for anything, does it?
Hand grenades and horseshoes, my friend. Hand grenades and horseshoes. Ken Weaver.
Yes, sir.
You get to go first today.
All right. Are we ready, boys?
Let's go.
Naked man said he was doing walk of shame. Perp claimed a 1 a.m. stroll was penance for cheating.
Oh, no.
Oh, boy.
A man who police saw strolling naked on a South Carolina street told officers he was doing a walk of shame as penance for cheating on his wife. This, according to the arrest report. Investigators say that 41-year-old Michael Boatman was spotted by a sheriff's deputy around 1:10 in the morning as he walked on a Spartanburg street with, quote, just a clear bag over his genitals and a blunt in his hand.
A clear bag?
No, the blunt's the better part of that.
Yeah. Might have been chilly. Boatman, one cop reported, explained that he was doing a walk of shame, which he needed to complete for his wife. A second officer noted that Boatman said that he had cheated on his wife and was doing a walk of shame, so not 1 but 2 but 3 cops confirm it. 2 Spartanburg County Sheriff's Office deputies noted that Boatman admitted to earlier taking meth.
Oh.
So not only was he smoking a blunt, but he had also apparently ingested some meth. While being questioned by police, Boatman allegedly sought to run away from deputies, but he was taken to the ground and handcuffed. After being placed in the squad car, Boatman said he would try to escape from jail and asked a deputy to shoot him.
Wow.
Well, they didn't shoot him.
Oh.
Apparently, they got him to jail and covered up his genitals.
I wonder how long he had to just sit around in the back of the cop car with the
Inmate, need you to remove the sandwich bag.
We're going to have to check beneath that sandwich bag to make sure you don't have any contraband, sir.
Just shoot me.
I just wonder how they determined who was going to tackle him when he was trying to run away.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it. You're going to do it.
Hey, Ken, does it say what kind of sandwich? Was it a quart? Was it one of those little snack bags?
It just says a plastic bag, and for some reason in my mind, because I put my apple slices in those little sandwich bags every day, I thought of a little sandwich bag. It looks like I'm going to have to get me a plastic container now because that's all I'm going to think about.
Oh, Mr. Chris Webber.
I might be able to top that one. A driver stuck on a set of railroad tracks made it out safely from his car before it was struck by a Norfolk Southern train in LaPorte, Indiana. This was back in February. The crash and then his subsequent arrest may not have happened had he not been highly impaired before a woman showed him her breasts while they were FaceTiming each other.
All right.
That's the picture that police draw during their investigation of 27-year-old Zachariah Virgil. The man is facing some misdemeanor.
Zachariah?
Yeah, Zachariah. He's facing misdemeanor counts of operating while intoxicated and leaving the scene of a crash. Police say it was about 2 a.m. on Monday when Virgil was driving to his girlfriend's house from watching the Super Bowl, according to charges. He told investigators that he became distracted by the sight of her breasts that she was showing him on FaceTime, which caused him to drive up onto the railroad tracks next to the crossing at Orchard Avenue and 2nd Street. Police say Virgil tried pushing the car off the tracks before the vehicle was struck by the freight train. He was unsuccessful, imagine that. According to court documents, the woman then picked him up and was just leaving the scene of the crash when stopped by the responding officers. Virgil, who was sitting in the woman's front passenger seat, had an alleged blood alcohol level of 0.273.
That's
wow.
Stout.
Police also said that they detected a strong odor of marijuana inside the vehicle at the crash site. Yeah, so he had 3 things going against him. Alcohol, marijuana, and boobies.
Officer, in my defense, you got to see.
They were spectacular.
They were real, and they were spectacular.
Breastises.
When you started this, I mean, his name is Zachariah Virgil.
Yep.
Zachariah Virgil.
I mean, he missed a good
Vigil.
Zachariah Vigil. He missed a good shot at being Amish. That feels like an Amish name, doesn't it?
He would have been behind the wheel of the horse and buggy.
Of the horse and buggy.
I get ready to say he'd have to whip that horse on the ass to get it out of the way.
Well, I might have had a better shot at it. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. You got Well, I mean, they're undefeated, man. Y'all know it's undefeated.
Uh-oh.
Women.
Oh yeah.
I'm talking about Zachariah. Poor Zachariah.
Yeah,
they're undefeated.
Oh, absolutely.
I have a state nincompoop, a group of nincompoops.
All righty.
I saw you doing something earlier today, and I didn't mean to. I already had this story, and I thought we were going to compete for this story.
I'm going to delete it then, I bet. It says on my list. Let's see.
Memphis, Tennessee.
Oh, yeah.
5 men were arrested Monday after they allegedly stepped out of a car and began twerking in the middle of a busy intersection in downtown Memphis.
Goodness.
According to WREG television, authorities in Memphis, Tennessee noticed a 2016 Chevy Malibu stopped at a green light at an intersection downtown. The station reported that 4 men were seen standing around the vehicle twerking while 1 man was dancing on the hood. Police responded to the scene, and the 5 men were taken into custody. Mikkel Sanders, Rashawn Bryant, Jordan Smith, Meandre Mays, and Desmond Subbery, all between the ages of 18 and 22, were booked, citing an affidavit. WREG television reported that they were taken to jail so that, quote, they wouldn't do it again.
That'll teach them.
That'll stop them.
I mean, that'll get them. According to the station, Smith was given a $2,100 fine due to having a warrant for vandalism. The rest of the individuals involved were released on their own recognizance, which is a word I never could say very well.
He did a good job there.
Oh, I tried to muddle through it. So the 5 men appeared in court Wednesday. I guess my question is, and, obviously, if you're twerking in the middle of a city street where the green light's there and your car's in the middle of the street, you're nincompoops. All of you are nincompoops.
Yeah.
But what are we charging them with? You can't. It's not illegal to twerk.
Yeah, well,
Should be.
Could you? Did they have their pants on?
Ken Weaver, I'm sure, much to your chagrin, yes, they had their clothes on.
Oh well,
no, there were no sandwich bags involved in my nincompoops in the news story.
Yeah. I mean, I guess maybe if they were blocking traffic, it could be some sort of nuisance.
Hindering traffic. It's a traffic violation at that point, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, as long as they're not. And what fascinated me, gentlemen, I would note that normally, if I'm doing this story in Nincompoops in the News, this is the point that I would say that alcohol was involved.
Yeah.
At no point in this story is there any indication whatsoever that alcohol is involved, which I think makes them more nincompoops than they would have been had they all been drunk as Scooter Brown.
Well, what I don't understand is, since when do men twerk?
Well,
I thought that was a female thing.
Yeah, what's going on with that?
Since when do men twerk is a great question.
Yeah.
My version of that question is, where are all the women at? Or, as Zachariah would put it, where are all the boobies at?
The boobies.
Because the only legitimate reason for a dude to, wait, I just thought of something. I almost said the only legitimate reason for a straight guy to twerk would be boobies.
Oh, I didn't think about that. Yeah,
maybe they don't care about that.
Maybe they don't care about that.
Yeah, could be.
Maybe they were twerking for
each other,
one another. One way or the other, they're nincompoops. Wow. There you go. There's Ken Weaver, Chris Webber, Matt Murphy, nincompoops in the news. You get to vote. 615-737-9986. We'll get back and we'll talk more nincompoopery out of Washington, D.C. Chuck Schumer's making the rounds and making the case that we need more Trump hate in our lives. We'll share that with you in a moment on Super Talk. I'm very excited about the Men of Valor breakfast that is coming up March 26th. It's just 6 days away. Next Wednesday morning at 7 a.m. at Music City Center, you could be a part of Men of Valor, the wonderful organization that it is. They help bring men in prison to life of God. I mean, they bring God into the prison system and truly begin the process of creating productive members of society out of the prison system and back into life again. Please, if you can, go to movministry.com to see the wonderful work done by Men of Valor. And if you have the ability, I invite you to join us at the Men of Valor breakfast this coming Wednesday morning at 7 a.m. at Music City Center. Find out more about that at movministry.com. That's movministry.com. And next hour, you can find a way to win 2 tickets to my table at the Men of Valor breakfast. That's on the way in the next hour. Go to movministry.com and give as you can, or volunteer if you will, to Men of Valor.
6 o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. President Trump has signed an executive order that starts the process of dismantling the Federal Department of Education, but not some of the critical programs that come with it.
Pell Grants, Title I funding, resources for children with disabilities and special needs will be preserved, fully preserved.
Governor Bill Lee, Secretary of State Trey Hargett in the room with other states' dignitaries there during the signing. Congressman Rose wasn't there. He's in Middle Tennessee, officially launching a bid for governor in 2026. And he joined WTN's Matt Murphy in studio to talk about priorities, among them tackling that $38 billion backlog of transportation projects.
And so that's going to mean a serious conversation about, what are Tennesseans willing to do to solve this problem, and how do we prioritize where we're spending our money to make sure that, and it is about spending.
Asked if that might mean more taxes, Rose responded,
well, I wouldn't start there.
Another one of Rose's priorities to ensure every Tennessean is within half an hour's drive of health care, round trip. Back in D.C., the federal judge demanding more information about deportation flights has extended the deadline. ABC News national correspondent Stephen Portnoy with the latest.
In a statement, the Justice Department says it views the judge's questions about the deportation flights as superfluous and the details he seeks as sensitive national security information. But in an order, Judge James Boasberg says the administration has evaded its obligations with a response to his inquiries that is woefully insufficient. Boasberg now says the Justice Department has until 10 a.m. Friday to update him on the possible invocation of the state secrets privilege, under which the government may keep a military matter from the courts.
U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi calls it domestic terrorism, announcing today she's charging 3 people for setting fire to Tesla dealerships and charging stations in Oregon, Colorado, and South Carolina in protest of Elon Musk and Doge. Meanwhile, a group calling itself Indivisible Tennessee planning what it calls Tennessee Tesla takedown protests on Saturday at Tesla showrooms in Franklin, Knoxville, Chattanooga, and Memphis. Starting later this month, Social Security is going to require more in-person visits to fight fraud. Starting on March 31st, beneficiaries who cannot use online tools will need to visit a Social Security office in person with proof of identity. And the Tennessean says Oracle has closed on a $60 million worth of piece of land on the East Bank for its global headquarters to employ 8,500 people. This is in addition to the 60 acres it's already bought for those headquarters. And Governor Bill Lee has submitted a letter of interest to NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell to host the 2029 Super Bowl in that new stadium under construction on the East Bank. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. Got a report of a crash in the Gulch, 40 eastbound near Demumbre, and then in Berry Hill, 65 northbound after I-440. In Glencliff, a crash, 40 westbound at Spence Lane. And in Madison, police reporting a crash 65 northbound after Old Hickory Boulevard. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It is the final hour of our visit together today, this Thursday, March 20. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're getting home well. If that's what you're doing, maybe you're in your automobile, you're home already, your place of business, wherever you might be, we thank you for listening to us on whatever platform you might be listening on. Perhaps it's your radio. Perhaps it's an app. Maybe you are on iHeart, Spotify, or one of those other streaming applications, perhaps our own at Supertalk 99.7 WTN, or maybe, just maybe, you're watching the television side of things on Supertalk TV, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch. If you are, then you've probably caught me tallying up the votes from Nincompoops in the news. I always love the commentary on some of the votes. I vote for Matt twerking the Nincompoops. I don't think that's what happened. I don't think Matt was not twerking. Matt was not twerking anything.
Thankfully.
This one, you'll like this one. 6196, Chris Weber says, boobies will always win over junk in bags or men twerking.
That's what I'm saying.
So I think that's a vote for you. NCP, that stands for Nincompoop, equals Sandwich Bag Walk of Fame. And so after I tallied up the votes, it was a strong race between Chris Weber and Ken Weaver.
Well, it involved nudity.
And Ken Weaver won again.
God, dagnabbit.
I thought boobies would have taken
Me
it.
too.
But you know what? When you talk about putting your strawberries in a sandwich bag, a see-through sandwich bag, you know, and he was doing it because it was the walk of shame. He was made to, right?
Yeah, he cheated on his wife.
So he had to do it.
It was penance.
You got to do it. You got to do it. You got to do it.
I just don't understand why he why he needed the sandwich bag.
Maybe it was a little chilly out and he didn't want to get frostbite.
Well, either that or there were mosquitoes.
Ooh.
I suddenly regret bringing all of this up again.
I tell you what, boy, them chigger bites.
One way or the you got to watch those things. You got to watch those things. You got to check for ticks too. I'm just telling you.
I've been there, done that.
It's when it's in season. One of these days, I'm going to start getting a complex that I don't win because it's me. But all I'm saying is Weaver wins the most, Weber's second, and then I don't win at all.
Well, you got to do naked stuff.
Oh,
you got to do
okay.
naked stories.
All right,
Brother
more naked stories.
Yeah.
Okay, naked wins. I thought my twerking story was pretty good. It was local.
It was a good one.
It'd have been good if they'd have been naked.
Okay. All right. Well, who said? Well, they weren't. That's the problem. I said they weren't.
They weren't drunk.
Which is the weird part of the story. They got let go. I hate to have such fun and then turn it to such a sad story, but this was brought to my attention earlier. Speaking of Memphis, and I have to bring this up, and it will anger you, and I'm not here necessarily to anger all of you, but if you are a dog lover, prepare to be upset and potentially sick to your stomach.
Oh, no.
I don't know what we do about this, but I don't know if there's anything that we can do sitting here in Nashville, Tennessee. But if Memphis, Tennessee is so bad off that this is what it's come to, I don't know what to do about it. Here's the story. Memphis, Tennessee, Dateline. Memphis Animal Services says that it had to euthanize more dogs in their care due to a second outbreak of canine distemper at their Memphis Animal Service shelter in less than 2 months. Here's the statement, and then I'll rant and rave about it for a minute. The Memphis Animal Shelter is currently responding to an outbreak of canine distemper virus affecting 3 kennel areas within the facility. To contain the spread of the disease and to protect the health and safety of both the animals and the broader community, the shelter has made the incredibly difficult choice to humanely euthanize the dogs who have tested positive for the virus, along with evaluating and addressing cases involving dogs at high risk of infection. Additional measures may be necessary to further tests become available. Mary Claire Borres said in January that the MAS was forced to euthanize exposed animals to prevent the disease from spreading. MAS said distemper is highly contagious and a serious disease that can spread rapidly in a shelter environment. We understand that. The animal shelter said it's reinforcing ongoing sanitation protocols, continuing to isolate exposed animals, and closely monitoring the health of all of its animals currently in its care. Here's the deal. If I wanted to try to give any sort of grace to the Memphis Animal Service, perhaps I could if this were a one-off. This is the second time that they've done this in 2 months. The second time in as many months that they have euthanized dogs. This time around, we are told that it was over 100. Many of whom had already been adopted. But because it was discovered, it's my understanding that up to 1/4 of the animals that were euthanized had already been adopted. And because they had discovered after the adoption paperwork went through that they had this issue with canine distemper, they put the animals down. How in the hell, if this happens once, do you let it happen again within 2 months? That's my question for Memphis, Tennessee, and the animal services over at Memphis, Tennessee. What in the hell are you doing over there? What do you not understand? I mean, tell me that there are not basic protocols that exist for you to test animals for canine distemper. I understand it's a serious situation. I understand you have to worry about it. I don't understand why you have to go through 2 rounds of euthanization of perfectly good dogs other than the fact that they got distemper at your facility because apparently your facility is not sanitized properly. In January, WREG Television shared a video of a dog on the streets of Memphis that showed signs of distemper during the previous outbreak. I don't know that I have anything else to say about it except this. Value your shelters that do good work. And please, if you are considering getting a dog, get a dog from a reputable shelter. I understand that some folks want a particular breed. You can find those breeds, I promise you. You don't have to have paperwork. A paperwork never loved you. A paperwork never made your night better when your night was going bad. You don't need paperwork for an animal to get a good quality dog. I do not get it. And someone explain it to me, how in the hell this happens. And once again, I understand that distemper is a very serious thing. And I understand that you have to fight against it. I'm being told the problem with these animals, this is from someone that I trust has sent me this message. And I will not divulge who they are, but this is a person that's in the know in our local community. The problem with these animal shelters is there are no standards with regard to proper ventilation in the facility. The disease, sadly, when introduced, spreads quickly throughout the population in confined spaces. Our sheriff's department implemented a new ventilation system to help with these types of things. We need to require these by the state. Well, I'll champion that cause if that's the problem. If they don't have proper services or proper ventilation. If they don't have the proper ventilation, why the hell are they taking in the dogs? to begin with. This is just an infuriating story.
Yeah.
Tommy, what's happening?
Yes, sir. I'm calling about the dogs being killed.
Yes, sir.
And you can cure what they had. Finnegan and Gatorade cures it easy.
What does?
Finnegan and Gatorade will get a dog through it.
Oh, really?
I've done it many a times. Yes, Parvo.
I just, for the life of me, I can't understand how it would happen once necessarily. But I suppose that they could claim ignorance or claim that they didn't see it coming or whatever. I don't understand why they could.
I'll agree with them on ignorance. They're a bunch of dumb son of a bitches that don't care about dogs. That's what it is. And people don't care about dogs don't need to be working there, don't need to own the place, don't need to be nothing. If you ain't got a heart for a dog, then you don't need to be there.
Tommy,
I mean, that's plain and simple.
I couldn't have said it better. I think Chris had to dump you, but I get it.
The only thing dogs has done wrong is cared too much about humans. Dogs love us more than any other animal. If any other animals had the chance to kill all of us, they would. The dogs wouldn't. The dogs would be there with us.
I just I can't understand it. And Tommy, I'm right there with you. I love dogs more than I love people because dogs deserve it. Because they're more worthy of it for the most part. And you tell me over 100 dogs had to be euthanized, and it was the second time they had to do it in 2 months. People need to get fired. They need to have their booties fired. And Chris, I'm glad you were there to do that because I probably wouldn't have dumped him because I feel I'm right there with him.
I was on the fence. I was going to let it ride.
It's for the best. Yeah. It's for the best. Tommy's very, very expressive in how he described. He said that the problem with these people is that, they can claim stupidity because they are dumb SOBs, but he didn't say SOBs. 17 minutes after the hour, 0480 says, if my dog loved me, he'd quit pooping on my carpet. Well, if you loved your dog, you would train him in such a way where he wouldn't poop on your carpet. The Smith County Humane Society in Smith County has noted that there has been several cases of distemper in our county. These are coming from dogs that have been dumped on the side of the road and sadly are not vaccinated. You've got to protect. Kathy says, why wouldn't they isolate the sick dogs instead of putting them down? That's another good question. And I don't know the answer to that question. I think that they just decided to do it, sadly, and it is infuriating that, the next story that we need to see out of the Memphis Animal Services Shelter are wholesale firings on the part of the city of Memphis. Memphis is an absolute dumpster fire in the state of Tennessee. They can't educate their people, they can't keep crime off the streets, and they can't keep distemper out of their animal shelters. And if you look at the crime beat, you would think that some of the two-leggers have distemper too. The way that crime is rampant in that city. Absolutely infuriating. But once again, I beg of you, if you're thinking of an animal, and look, I know that there are good, reputable breeders that exist, and I'm not necessarily knocking keeping the sanctity of the breed, and I've had all those conversations in the past, but if you're looking for an animal, go to a shelter and get an animal. You can find a good dog. If you really need a puppy, you can find puppies. There are plenty of dogs out there for you, and there are plenty of dogs that are suffering in jail, in shelters, and in some cases, they're in crappy shelters where the people don't really care about them. And the only way to affect change, and I know we're here in Nashville, and I know we've got some great organizations. Proverbs is a great organization. There are other great groups that don't immediately come to mind, and I understand that there are many great animal shelters run by the county with people who care. But the only way that you get better services out of your animal control is to insist on better services out of your animal control. And if you're listening, Memphis, I'm talking to you. But, of course, Memphis ought to be demanding a hell of a lot better out of all aspects of their local government because, like I say, absolute dumpster fire. Fire sale on Memphis. Everything must go, except Graceland. And maybe the Peabody. And maybe Rendezvous. But other than that, you can have it all. 20 after the hour on Super Talk. Right now at Safe House, they understand that crime is up in the Nashville area, and Mark and his team at Safe House want you to know that they have the things that can protect your valuables and protect the things that protect your family. That would be your guns with a gun safe from Nashville Safe House. Don't forget, gun safes are always for sales tax free at Nashville Safe House. Plus, they have delivery from their professional team of delivery service men and women. Right there from Nashville Safe House. What does that mean for you? That means that they don't contract out delivery of your safe. That means that they don't let some crackhead deliver your safe that they don't know about, that they have not fully vetted, that they have not fully given background checks to. That's what they do at Nashville Safe House. Plus, they have the best selection that you'll find anywhere. I would put the selection at Nashville Safe House with Browning and Fort Knox and Champion, Superior, Rhino, all the rest. I put their selection against anywhere in the United States of America. That means that right here in Nashville, we have the best selection on planet Earth. The best selection in the universe can be found on 4th Avenue South in Nashville. It's NashvilleSafeHouse.com, NashvilleSafeHouse.com. Go by and see them today. You know, I have to admit that, I love Eurofix, and I love the fact that Aaron Stokes started Eurofix in a barn, in his backyard, in his single-wide trailer, and now they've grown to 5 locations. Those 5 locations include Franklin and 100 Oaks, Murfreesboro, Belmead, but that 5th location, it's a special place in my heart. It's my adopted hometown of Mount Juliet, right across the street from the Dairy Queen. Hey, friends, it's Matt Murphy, and I love Eurofix, and they have their brand new location, brand new to me, brand new to you, in Mount Juliet. For 26 years, they've been treating you the right way. They've been repairing European automobiles the proper way, and now they're serving you in Mount Juliet. At Eurofix, you get a 3-year nationwide warranty, a free loaner car with every repair appointment, a clean showroom space, and all you need to do is call to make that appointment today. At 844-EUROFIX, that's 844-EUROFIX, or visit myyurofix.com. Tell them Matt Murphy sent you to Eurofix.
Well, the media talked to Governor Lee at President Trump's Department of Education executive order signing today. We'll let you hear that and the day's closing money news at 6:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
You know what I heard Congressman John Rose, as he was announcing his plans, should he be selected as the next governor of the state of Tennessee, he was casting some a little bit of shade on our current commissioner of education, I think. Lizette Reynolds, I believe her name is. I think that's right. She is not from the state of Tennessee. And something that John said, quite clearly is that were he the governor of the state, he would expect that we would have a commissioner of education that was from the state of Tennessee. I don't know if it was a direct shot against Commissioner Reynolds or maybe just a general statement that he believes someone can serve the state best who went through the system and grew up in the state, him or herself. No word on that. Terry is next in Nashville with a thought on this animal euthanization out of Memphis. Hey, Terry, how are you?
Hey, good. How are you? Thank you for taking my call. It's absolutely horrible what happened. I work with animal rescue here in Tennessee. In the last 2 years, my wife and I have placed over 25 dogs and cats. It's horrible. All the shelters are just maxed out. I currently have 7 foster dogs, 8 total. You see these sad commercials about donating to these pets. Call your local shelters. Donate locally. You don't have to send your money 1,000 miles away. There's dogs homeless all over. And the only other point I would like to make, I think there should be stricter rules on owning dogs, because you go to the shelters and 75% of the dogs there are in the pit family. And they get them, they don't know how to manage them or control them, and then they end up in the shelters. There should be some kind of licensing or something. You just shouldn't be able to go out and get a dog just because you're in the mood, because they grow up, they're not fun anymore, most people, and then they just dump them on the side of the road. It's just crazy. Anyway, thank you.
Well, thank you. And Terry, you're doing God's work over there. I mean, I know so many folks who do that, and that's just, you are doing, in my opinion, the Lord's work by taking care of those animals. You're right. There is no excuse for me. I mean, maybe I could be convinced. You say, "Oh, Murphy, you need to calm down. Sometimes these things happen. If you get canine distemper, you've got to eradicate it. You got to, this." The same type of excuse making was happening for the bird flu, right? Oh, we got to kill millions of chickens because, well, maybe those excuses might have a little bit of merit the first time around, but it's 2 months later and we're on round number 2, and we're killing 100 dogs, some of which had already been adopted. Makes 0 sense to me. I want animal shelters to be closed down, not because of this type of garbage, but because of a lack of need for them. I'd love to see that. Sadly, I don't expect we're going to see that any day soon. You're right. I used to be, everybody that listens to my radio show for any length of time knows how much of a dog lover I am. I do love them. I think that, dogs are a gift from God to make our lives better in just about every way imaginable, whether it's through service, canine work, police work, y'all know the drill, or just through companionship. There is an undying and a level of unconditional love that does not exist human to human, that does exist dog to human. And I know you cat lovers love me just lavishing praise on dogs and dismissing the cats, but I digress. I'm very passionate about treating these animals properly and correctly and doing right by them. And I'm very passionate about offering those that are up for adoption to homes rather than having people buy them. There was a time when I went head on in the pit bull subject, because I do believe that sadly, when not properly cared for, when not properly trained, a pit bull can be a perfect storm of destruction. We see it oftentimes. I will say to you that had I small children, I would not consider a pit bull in my home, only because I've seen far too many examples. Look, a Chihuahua bites too. Occasionally you'll find a golden retriever that will nip. My beloved John Henry didn't like short people, and he nipped at a couple of short people during his life, and it was just a nip. But sadly, in the pit bull family, unfortunately, because of training, maybe some breeding, that can become a perfect storm of destruction without the proper training. And I've seen story after story, and I've heard story after story on my radio show about it. There was a time where I will tell you I was anti-pit. I'm no longer anti-pit, but I am for responsible dog owners that will make sure that they invest the time and the energy and the training that is needed should they decide to get pits. And that's what I'll say about that. It's 31 after the hour, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We explored the water wars last night at this time, and we're going to follow up on that subject in a moment. Right after the news on Super Talk.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. President Trump says his executive order he signed today to strip down the Department of Education does not affect Pell Grants, Title I funding, and special needs resources. ABC's Rachel Scott was at the signing at the White House. Talked to Tennessee Governor Bill Lee about concerns parents might have about a loss of programs for special needs students.
Can you personally assure the parents in your state that none of those programs will be cut?
You know, we absolutely are fundamentally committed to every single child in our state and how it is that we can give them the things they need.
Elsewhere in Tennessee, Congressman Rose has officially launched a bid for governor in 2026. The Tennessean says Oracle has closed on $60 million worth of more land on the East Bank for its global headquarters to employ 8,500 people. And Governor Lee submitted a letter of interest to NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell to host the 2029 Super Bowl in the new stadium being built on the East Bank. Money News, Michelle Franzen.
Stocks ticked lower today as the markets continue to manage investors' uncertainty. The Dow losing 11 points, the S&P 12 points in the red, and the Nasdaq 59 points down. The European Union has put a pause on the first counter tariffs against the U.S. until April 15th, saying this will allow additional time for discussions with Washington. President Trump had vowed to implement a 200% tariff on European alcohol. Tesla issues another recall for its Cybertrucks, this time because of an exterior trim panel that could fall off while driving. This is the 8th recall since the Cybertrucks first hit the road back in 2023 and affects 46,000 vehicles. The New York Federal Reserve warns Americans are running out of emergency funds. In its latest survey of consumer expectations, the bank says the likelihood of households being able to afford a $2,000 emergency is just 62.7%.
That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News. All right, Berry Hill, police reporting a crash 65 northbound after 440. And Madison, police reporting a crash 65 northbound after Old Hickory Boulevard. In Glencliff, police say there's a crash 24 westbound at Briley Parkway. In the Gulch, police reporting a crash 40 eastbound near Demonbreun and 40 westbound at Spence Lane. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
When it comes to large home repairs, sometimes homeowners want to pretend that we don't see the warning signs. We're afraid of what we are going to hear. At USS, they want to give you peace of mind, not bad news. And more often than not, they can give you that. Now, sometimes they have to get in there and solve an issue. But don't you want the peace of mind of knowing what that issue is and what the solution is, and that you have the best in the business when it comes to USS, United Structural Systems, on your team, handling it for you. Whether it's waterproofing, whether it's concrete leveling, or perhaps it's foundation repair, they'll get it done at USS. And the proof is in the testimonials. Friends, since 1994, over 30 years now, they have satisfied almost 30,000 customers. You heard me right. 30,000 satisfactory reviews from USS. United Structural Systems can get it done for you as well. Homeowners simply trust USS. So if you've noticed any of the signs or you want to know what the signs are, go to USSTN.com. That's USSTN.com or 615-488-7855. 488-7855. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So I have been blessed with a table at the Men of Valor breakfast happening next Wednesday, March 26th, starting at 7 a.m. in the morning. And we've got a number of seats at the table, and you'll be surrounded by good people. Here's the thing. We're going to take all I ask of you, if you, and it's on your honor because there's an honor system at the table. All I ask of you, if you accept the tickets, that A, you can be there Wednesday morning, the 26th of March, Music City Center, downtown Nashville, 7 a.m. That means you got to get there like at 6:30 because you got to go all the way up to the big room at the top. So it's an early morning for many of us, but if you work downtown or whatnot, one way or the other. All I ask of you that you have the ability to give any donation of your choosing at the time that we're at the event. And I think that's fair. It's a wonderful event. You can donate whatever you can afford, $5, $10, $500, $10,000. That really depends on your budget and your ability to give. But give us a call, 615-737-9986, 615-737-9986. Whoever on line 6 will win the tickets. That's how I'll do it. Whoever lands, there's plenty of lines and plenty of opportunity for you. So right now, people are waiting. Like, okay, number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4.
You'll never time
5.
it right.
You'll never time it right. Just give it a go.
Because we're on a delay, folks.
That's right. That's right. There might be people already lined up. One way or the other. Line 6, and I'll figure out a better way to give away a few more tickets tomorrow, maybe something a little more fun. But it's a wonderful organization. It is called Men of Valor, movministry.com. And all you're asked of, if you want to have the tickets, it's 2 tickets for my table, the Matt Murphy table, at the Men of Valor breakfast. All you have to do is there will be a donation envelope at the table for everybody. I mean, not for everybody, but 1 per seat. And just give as you can and donate to Men of Valor. A great organization. I promise you, your heart will be filled with the message of hope. And, they take the hopeless and they give them hope, and your heart will be filled as a result. Men of Valor, movministry.com. Whoever lands on line 6 will win a set of 2 tickets to my table for the event coming up this Wednesday morning. Rod is next in Pleasant View. Hey, Rod.
Hey, Matt. How you doing, buddy?
I'm great, bud.
Hey, man. Hey, I want to let your listeners know that just not long ago, there's a local place up here, and they do good things with dogs, I think. ASPCA. Have you heard of them?
Say it again?
ASPCA, the ones on advertising on TV.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Well,
I can't remember what the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. That's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, Sarah McLaughlin, all them people. Well, there's one question that I ask before I give money to anyone. How much goes to administration fees? They say 93%.
Wait, so the American Society, I don't give to any national dog organization. I really give rarely to national organizations. But as far as the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, I would suggest that you give your money locally.
Well, that's my point, Matt. 93% of your donation goes to secretaries, goes to their parties.
Yeah.
It doesn't go to help anything. So give locally. Go down to Tractor Supply or Walmart, buy some dog food, and drop it off.
Well, that's exactly right. I've dropped off some supplies that I had, some extra stuff that I had to the Mount Juliet Animal Control Center.
Sure.
Yeah, go local. Don't.
Well, I don't know if you're getting my point. Administration fees.
No,
93%. All your donations go to somebody sitting behind a computer. It's not going to help.
Yeah, I haven't confirmed the percentage, but yes, I can assure you that if you give to a national organization, whatever that national organization is versus a local organization, a lot more of your money is going to go to salaries and administration and processing and all that crap. And even some of those commercials that they run on TV. Yeah, no, I hear you.
Yeah. Okay. I just want to let you know, man, because I asked, and they even told me 93% goes to administration. I'm not going to give you $1.
Yeah, I would love to. That's an amazing statistic, especially if they would throw it down like that. And I just they
weren't prepared for the question.
No.
So they answered honestly.
Maybe so. But that's 93% is even high for even some of these ridiculous national organizations. Thank you for the call, Rod. I appreciate you so much. No, give locally if you can. I mean, there's so many good local shelter organizations. 0152 writes in and says, we need more funding for animal shelters. Make it a priority. We all love dogs, but they euthanize whole flocks of chickens due to sickness, sort of a double standard, playing devil's advocate for discussion purposes here. But I bet they didn't want the distemper, and those who oversee animal shelters, where are all these dogs coming from? Irresponsible dog owners, that's who. You're right. Trace those dogs, find the former owners, jail them, fire some people. Yeah, that's the ticket. Can't walk the streets at night in Memphis. We got bigger problems than this. You think the people who work in these shelters are ghouls, just hoping to slaughter animals. Pet owners cause this 100%. You should have to have a license to own any animal and be made responsible for that animal. All right, so I'm a hard case on this story because this was the second time it happened. And I don't believe for a moment that the people that volunteer in these shelters, that the people that come from the city of Memphis necessarily are ghouls by any stretch of the imagination. But I would say this. There are some irresponsible individuals in administrative posts in this organization that need to be dealt with. The responsibility for maybe not the first flight of distemper, but certainly for the second flight, that responsibility lies at the feet of the people making decisions about sanitizing that facility. Period. We got our winner on the line. My man, Bobby. What is going on, Bobby?
Man, you are. I was telling Chris, y'all sound different on the phone.
You think so?
You know what his comment was?
What's that?
Well, they say we don't look like our voice either.
Well, that's true. And I mean, if it'll make you feel better, Bobby, I'll start yelling and screaming at you.
Nah,
I'm just kidding. No, man. Look, hey, listen. Thank you for your congratulations. You're lucky line 6, and you're the winner of 2 tickets to the breakfast next Wednesday morning at 7:00. You can be there now.
Yes, sir. All
right, very good. Well, we've got your name in the hat, and once you get to the registration table, table at the Music City Center, there's going to be a lot of people there, Bobby. A lot of people. You just tell them you're at Matt Murphy's table, and we've got your information, so I'll be able to get you some additional information about where that might be, and then we'll see you there, brother.
All right, sir. I appreciate it, and y'all do a good job on Men of Valor as well.
It's a great organization. I'm so proud to be a part of it, and I thank you, Bobby, for the call. Was I supposed to put him back on hold, or did we already get
got
him? Oh, thank goodness. You know your hosts well. I'll just hang up on the guy. 47 after the hour. Hey, before we go, then there's this guy. You want to talk about a nincompoop who's constantly in the news. What about this guy?
We are mobilizing in New York. We have people going to the Republican districts and going after these Republicans who are voting for this and forcing them to either change their vote or face the consequences. This is a long, relentless fight that we fight every day. And I am confident that we will bring Trump's popularity, numbers, and strength down if we keep at it and keep at it and keep at it.
Y'all hear that? That's the Democrat. Chuck Schumer has just said out loud what the Democrat new strategy is moving forward. Does that have anything to do with the American people and benefiting your life at all? You hear what he just said? Their goal is to astroturf town halls, to insist that the Republicans go to town halls that are being astroturfed by bust-in Democrats or Democrats that are found locally and brought to the front of the line. Democrats are going to attempt to use these little party affiliations that they have to create these so-called town halls and to try to insist that Republicans come to them and then suggest that the Republicans don't want to answer to the voters when they don't show up. But what they're really doing, they're loading the town halls. They're front-ending the town halls with leftist plants, some of which funded by George Soros, for the purpose of doing what Chuck Schumer just said out loud. Now, that's an amazing admission that the Democrats have made, that their basic policy position in the United States of America now is to bring down Trump. Not win elections, not win in the arena of ideas. Listen to what he says.
We are mobilizing in New York. We have people going to the Republican districts and going after these Republicans who are.
We are mobilizing. We have people going to the Republican. If you don't think this is happening nationwide, you're fooling yourself. We have people mobilized and going to Republican districts, going to where these Republicans live and breathe. Why?
We're voting for this and forcing them to either change their vote or face the consequences.
So we are trying to bully them, to force them to change their vote. We're going to that. We don't live in this district. We're going to these districts. Y'all see the method to this madness?
This is a long, relentless fight that we fight every day. And I am confident that we will bring Trump's popularity, numbers, and strength down.
So this is an interesting part of this quote, too. Simultaneously, Chuck Schumer admits that Donald Trump's popularity and the strength of his numbers has never been better. Now, he didn't say ever been better, but that's what he's admitting here. And he admits that they have to, quote, bring it down. How? By attempting to bully local representatives, attempting to bully Republican representatives into believing that these town halls are truly the, quote, voice of the people. Well, come on, friends. We see through all of this. All of this. And Chuck Schumer says the quiet part out loud. This is their playbook, and all you need to do is be aware of it to understand how to stop it. These aren't average voters. These aren't average Republicans angry at their Republican congressman or senator that they voted for. These are Democrat plants, per Chuck Schumer. And I didn't even get into the Tesla attacks today. Same old song and dance with these Democrats, folks. If it's their side doing the violence, if it's their side burning crap, if it's their side burning cities down, if it's their side engaging in violence, if it's their side beating up on cops, then it's all good. Tell me how I'm wrong. I first recalled the complete double standard on the part of the mainstream media, primarily hashtag Never CNN. You see, I call hashtag Never CNN for a reason. I call it that for a reason. Because you should never watch CNN. You should never support anything that does support CNN. Hashtag never CNN. I'll watch this garbage network so you don't have to. Garbage network full of garbage people spewing what? Spewing garbage. And they've been doing it for a long time now. I remember in Ferguson, Missouri, when they stood in front of buildings, private property that was being burned to the ground, and they stood before their people and they said, these protests are largely peaceful. Y'all remember that? I do, like it was yesterday. I remember the Trayvon Martin story with George Zimmerman and how that was mishandled in the press. I remember how Ferguson was mishandled in the press. And yeah, I sure as hell remember how George Floyd, the Summer of Love, and the Antifa BLM riots were handled in the press. And you know what the media said on those? All good. Democrats go, all good? It's all good. You can understand, Matt. You've got to understand why they're so passionate and they're so upset. Tesla attacks, all good. That's just fine. It infuriates me because these same minions in mainstream media, when Jan 6th happened, anytime that there's any level of violence that can be labeled as, quote, right-wing violence, every damn Republican in the United States of America, every elected conservative in the United States of America is forced to do what? Denounce. Oh, you must denounce. You got to denounce it. Denounce what? I'm not responsible for it. When's the last time a Democrat had to denounce the Tesla violence and the attacks on private property, or the BLM attacks and the attacks on people, human beings? When's the last time Democrats were made to denounce? Oh, but there's the hypocritical standard. Rules are for thee and not for me, say the Democrats. We see through you, Democrats. It's 53 after the hour on Super Talk. Hey, friends, it's Matt Murphy for Stoltz Co. So you're thinking about putting something on your property, maybe like a she shed out back, or maybe a man cave back there, or perhaps you've got in-laws that are up in age and you realize that at some point you're going to need to consolidate the family in some form or fashion. Well, whatever you're thinking about in terms of a structure on your property, I certainly hope you're thinking about Stoltz Co. Stoltz Co. can get it done. All it takes. You know what sells this? I mean, I can talk till the cows come home, but I beg of you, you go to this website. You go to stoltzco.com, and I'm going to spell it for you in a minute. But you go to that website, and you see the equestrian spaces. You see the event spaces. You see the garages or the pole barns. You see the barn dominiums, the customized structure, these first-class structures that can be built on your property for a very reasonable price. Friends, You'll never back up from the process. I'm telling you, it's so good. You just see it and you'll believe it, and you'll give the call that so many others have made to Stoltz Co. 615-622-5992. That's 622-5992. Or go to StoltzCo, STOLTZCO.com. That's StoltzCo.com. Got ahead of myself and talked for far too long, and now we're out of time. I'm sad to note. But I enjoyed it today. I hope you did as well. Thanks to our guest, Congressman and gubernatorial candidate, John Rose. I love this season. If for nothing else, it's because I get to say gubernatorial a lot, which is a fun word to say. It's like a party in your mouth, and everyone's invited. Speaking of a party, Mark Levin's coming up next. We'll be back at 3 o'clock for a Friday edition. Until then, so long, everybody.